You are now entering Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast hosted by a Spanish soccer mom, a 30-year-old silver-haired fox going on 60, and finally, a 200-pound bowl of spaghetti with chimichanga arms.
The champions, we are the champions.
Sam, man, I know we've had this conversation so many times, but I still don't think you understand.
All right, Mike, one more time from the top. You got Madbull. Which one's that?
Yeah, MX-5. By the way, I love that intro. The intro is dope.
Mike, stay focused, please. Okay, we got Madbull.
Yep, yeah, you got that one right. That's the RX-8.
Madbull.
Madbull, that's probably any one of my cars.
That's a minivan you have, right? With the rotary, the six-puck minivan?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, then you got Humble.
Humble, not so humble.
Which
Japan,
one's that?
That's the Japan-based Formula Drift Japan car that we're campaigning, built by Kawato-san at TCP.
All right, and then which one's bullshit?
Bullshit. Well, it's non-existent. We still haven't created that one since 2015.
Yeah, we did our little interview, and now I'm recycling jokes from that interview because I haven't changed one bit. But you have.
You're out of material.
I'm out of material. Well, welcome to the show, Mike. Welcome to Maximum Driftcast. We're so happy you could finally make it on. We've been wanting you forever on here, and I don't think that there's enough time to ask everything we have to ask. So let's roll, man. There's so much. First of all right, what gives you the right, Mike?
The right
to party, bro.
Yeah, mate. We're from New Zealand. We're in the future down here, bro. We already know what's happening.
I know.
We're a day ahead of you guys.
It blows my mind when I first was looking at our time difference to try to figure out a time for the show. It's like, oh, it's cool. You're only 5 hours difference. Like, oh no, that's wrong. You're 19 hours different. You're already a day ahead. You're in the middle of tomorrow. I'm gonna be hungover at that point. It's because it's Tuesday, and Tuesday is booze day or something. I don't know.
I remember back the year 2000 going into the millennium, and there was this whole big thing about the blackout, which was going around in the year 2000. Everything's going to crash. The whole world's going to end. Dude, meanwhile, in New Zealand, we're already on the first day of 2001, and everything was still going sweet as. Whilst you guys were still panicking about this millennium shutdown.
Yeah. And you guys made it through. Thankfully, I'm not sure we made it through.
No, we're still working through it, Sam. Yeah, it just ended up starting in 2017 or 18. Is
just about.
Just started.
So should we start with? Let's start with FD Japan, because we rarely get to talk to anyone from FD Japan. We, much to the chagrin of some of our listeners, pretty much focus on FD America almost entirely. What is up with FD Japan? What's that like? You've competed in both series, but what's FD Japan about?
Yeah, I really enjoy going to Japan. It's like the country, the people, the food, the Formula Drift Championship itself. Like, as a driver, is really fun because throughout the season, all the tracks are totally different. So there's always kind of like 5 to 10 guys that'll be on your radar, depending on whether it's a tight, twisty track or one of the faster, like Formula One style tracks, and it really gives everybody a chance to shine because of the different driver styles or different car setups. Get to shine at each different track. And like I say, it's a huge field. They have at least 50 cars pretty much lining up to battle for top 32. Lots of good drivers, and we've got Kawato-san over there, the owner of TCP Magic, has built us a really, really strong car. So I enjoy it. I've had a partnership with Kawato-san of Magic since 2009 when we first met, when I did a D1 GP event over there. And we're just really growing on a relationship. It was like pretty humbling back in 2010. I got a drive from a Japanese company, which was Kawato, to be a foreign driver in the Japanese championship, which was, that was a dream to be able to go up there and drive for him, and him paying me to drive. And now it's all kind of flipped. And we now, fund him to be able to go and race his car. So he gets to live his dream of building cars and challenging the best in Japan, and we get to go up there and drive and put on a show. It's great.
I'm trying to find your current standings on the Formula Drift Japan website, and it is nearly impossible since all the names are in Japanese kanji. I can't figure out. So how are you doing this year?
Yeah, we're leading, leading the points. We had a perfect round 1 and round 2. We've qualified first and finished first, and was fortunate because round 3 at Fuji just last weekend, we unfortunately had an electrical issue, and there's it's one of those things of drifting. Everything's under so much stress, whether it's the drivetrain, the engine, the cars, the drivers, like everything. And we went out and practiced, felt really comfortable. This is on the actual top 32 day, and we pulled out of practice like an hour early because we felt that confident in the wet with the car, and we had a few chase runs. And so we pulled out early, pulled the car up to the the hot pit, went and studied for a little bit, and then when it came out, I was in the car sort of 20 minutes before I even needed to be for our top 32, which was going to be a really exciting battle up against Ueo, who's one of the OGs of Japanese style and the big flicks and all that. And just getting myself in the zone, and then went to hit the start button, and humble, that thing fires into life before the button's even all the way down. The thing's just psycho. And when the button hit the bottom and it didn't fire, like instantly the heart just dropped. And we were called, forced to call a 5-minute timeout instantly. And you'll be amazed what these teams can do in 5 minutes. You can have a wreck into a wall, and they'll replace every shock and arm on one side of the car or whatever it is. And it's proven by what the fans and that can see. But for us, it was something so minor, an electrical issue that just kept popping a fuse, and we were just unable to get the car on the grid. So, we were knocked out very early and didn't gather many points at all. But with those 2 perfect rounds at round 1 and 2, we're able to just hold that championship alive. So, we're leading the table, and we go into next round is Okabuki, where we won last year. So looking forward to getting up there.
It's always surprising to see something that is like invisible or minor, this electrical problem that just brings down a giant, like at Formula Drift Seattle. Forsberg just got knocked out of the championship running more or less because of a electrical bug in his throttle body, and like his car just shut down twice in a row coming onto the bank, and there's nothing you can do. And it's always so disheartening because, like you said, like if it's broken parts, at least you can like direct your anger at something. But
sometimes it's better like to actually feel that you've wrecked into a wall, or you've had some huge failure. But when it's just a simple wire and a fuse, it's really, really frustrating. But hey, at the end of the day, it's an easy fix for Kawato. The car's already ready to rock and roll. We'll get up there, we'll do some more testing before the next round, and it's been a really, really solid championship so far, and I enjoy it. Really love like drivers, the people, the staff, the fans. But like I said before, everything about Japan's really cool. We've got a great team up there.
Yeah, what is the driving difference between like driving in the US series? Like I know the tracks obviously look different, but what are the big differences over there?
The differences are not just the driving style, but the car builds themselves. The cars are still fast and hooked up. We have a lot of grip, and of course it's the same judges. But I just think the way the Japanese drive and the way the tracks are set up, they're just a lot different. And I find my driving style adapts really, really well to the Japanese tracks and style of driving. Where the last stint we had in the States with MX-5, it was a very competitive car, but it was really, really hard to be consistent just because the thing was so violent, so snappy, so much grip and power, but yet such a short wheelbase. So as much as it potentially had, what it takes to win a championship in that hard would be really, really hard. And plus you're going against teams that have so much data and knowledge from all these tracks for so many years. It does make it hard to come and not only build a car, but develop a car whilst competing in a world championship. But That car was fun, it's a really, really fun project. Like the hype around building it, getting the fan base involved. I mean, that thing started from the chassis. Do we turn it into a missile or a Formula D Pro car? And the votes went to Formula D Pro car. So that was what we did. And we put a program together and we came back to the States, which was really, really rad. We enjoyed it and managed the second year, get third overall in the World Championship. So just challenges. That's what we love.
Yeah, we've had this discussion many times on our episodes past, talking about campaigning an older car versus a newer car that might not be as effective. And it's like I've said many times, like you got the Mad Mike example. It's like I'd love to see you in an FD, in American FD, because I know you could make some waves in that thing. But at the same time, we understand that being a Mazda driver, like you really can't campaign too often. I mean, I know you do in Japan, but you got to drive something modern, something that people can buy, something that someone can go to a dealership and buy, and that helps the sport, of course. But also, drifting a Miata at 1,000 horsepower in these leagues, we found, is not the easiest for most people.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, we didn't know, man. Like, we really were. When we built that car, it was like, I had been to USA pretty much every year since I started drifting, and the progression and development and the car builds, not just the builds themselves, but like the shocks and the tire compounds, and like every year it would grow so much, and it'd be such a shock every time you go back up there. And we had a 5-year hiatus, so we knew when we were coming back, we needed to bring something strong. So, I mean, the MX-5 was the fastest, craziest thing that our team and myself could put together to be able to take on the world's best. So that was what it was, and to this day, it's still the scariest, fastest freaking car I've ever driven.
Yeah.
We got the likes of being able to take Daniel Ricciardo, who's, well-known Formula One driver in the car earlier this year, around a Formula One circuit, and that was literally one of the scariest projects we've done. Yeah. Given 2 laps, and to have Daniel Ricciardo even mention himself that it's like one of the fastest things he's ever been in, is credibility to the sport, or like how much technology has gone into the cars. Like I say, I think as a driver, you're always pushing harder and harder for that adrenaline, but now it's like the cars are frightening fast. They're like literally having a shotgun to your head, and that one little hesitation on the bank and you're in the wall, man, and it's game over. And that car bit me hard when we did that whole build series with Madbull, Project Madbull. For you guys that haven't seen it, there's a full series on YouTube. We wanted to showcase everything that goes into building a pro car. And then the final clip for the whole doco was me unveiling the car in full flesh, ripping at our track here at Highlands Motorsport Park. And
that was going to be really cool. That's
that video, it got released at the end of the year, but it was meant to be released the week before Long Beach, to be like, damn, Mad Mike's coming back. That thing was wild. And I got 2 laps into the film shoot, and when you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars going into production crews and helicopters, and me just being me, I want to put out the banger shot, be the most explosive straight away. Man, the second lap I was in the wall at, near 200 kilometers an hour, and knocked out, crushed liver, freaking urinating blood, flown out to hospital, car pretty much an absolute wreck. And we learned then that we had built something very wild.
Wow.
Nice.
I don't think I knew that one. Yeah. And also, I'm actually doing a shoot with Daniel next week, and I'll have to ask him about that. And ask him what the hell is up with quitting the team.
Yeah, out. He's out the gate and in with Reno, eh? So, mate, as a driver, you look at these things, and there's contracts and everything that come year in, year out, and it's just one of those things.
There might be something. I'm sure he's got his reasons.
Something Verstappen, something. We'll see. Hey, Mike. So, I mean, obviously, we started the show. You were already way ahead of us. So, before we get too crazy on what's going on right now, why don't we just go real quick? We're gonna go on a trip to the past.
Oh,
we're gonna take a little trip through memory lane, and let's get to know Mad Mike before he was mad. When he was happy.
Baby Mike.
It was Baby Mike.
Baby Mike.
He used to be Jolly Mike.
Yep.
Yep.
He was a happy little lad.
Yeah, it was like throwing shrimps in the Barbie.
Yep.
And what else? Whatever you guys do.
Whatever. So tell us about the night you were conceived, Mike. What were your parents? What were they doing?
See, that I can't tell you because I've never actually met my father. So.
Oh, really?
I grew up with my mum, and like it's just been perfect.
Good job,
So
Sam.
Corey could be your dad.
I could be
Potentially, I'd hope not. But
why would you?
Because he drives a piston, mate. I was hoping my dad would at least drive rotaries.
I haven't had a chance to drive a Wankel yet, so hopefully I'll be able to get in one soon. I was actually debating on buying an RX-8. I don't know if that would be a good investment, but
they're so cheap.
They're so cheap.
They're so cheap, and I've been looking at the Rocket
you
Bunny
got to
kit
start
for it.
somewhere. At least you're going around. It's got to be better than an LS. I'm telling you,
dude. How hard is it to get an FD right now in New Zealand?
New Zealand's not too bad. I know, like now the import laws have all changed up in the States. A lot are going up there with the frontal impact laws or whatever you guys have got going on.
Yeah.
So,
25-year rule essentially. So we can now legally import 25-year-old cars, and the first FDs I think are just about legal if they're not already.
Yeah. So that's like now you'll see like out of Japan, a lot of them are going stateside. So they're an awesome car, straight out the bat.
And right now stateside they're selling anywhere for $25,000 to $30,000.
Yeah, it's insane.
So
and the worst part is like I'm even considering it's like it's so stupid. I know that like this car should be. And the worst part is like we had more or less the same car here, right? That you could buy forever for $10,000, but now the JDM ones are coming and it's like boom, $30,000-$40,000.
Yeah, bang! Enjoy that. That's a Madbull.
Right, driving on the wrong side of the car can go to the fast food joints.
Yep.
Messes
up our whole rotation out here.
But we have like to flip it around. We are similar here in New Zealand. So once it's 25 years old, you can leave stuff left hook. So I've got lots of buddies that are American lowriders and all that sort of stuff. So you can import stuff out of the States if it's 25 years or older. You leave it left hook.
Also,
so
the road
qualified as a classic.
The rotaries go whittly diddly needing the other direction.
Yeah,
in Japan,
just like the toilets.
Just like the toilets, right?
They go backwards.
Yeah, if you're in the Western style toilet.
See, that's technical talk, Mike. Yeah. See, that's just technical jargon.
We'll get to tech talk later on the show.
Too techy with you. I know
but let's go back to how do you start it? Like, what was it first? Do you started drifting first, or do you started rotoring first?
Yeah, where'd you begin?
Yes, well, so like I said earlier, I've never met my father, so I grew up with my mum, and pretty limited budget. Mum looks after kids, still does to this day, and I was just a kid with a big dream, and Mum was very passionate with horses, so every weekend we'd be at the local farm where she would go up and ride her horse, and I was even fortunate enough I had a little radio control car, and I'd make little jumps and tracks and pull it apart and put it back together, and just kind of self-taught on that side. And then younger years, maybe like 6-7 years old, Mum brought me an old clapped out Suzuki DS80, which was my first dirt bike, and that was just the dream, like it was an older bike, but she literally gave me this bike and was like, here, you can ride this while we go ride our horses. And Mum didn't even know like how to start this thing. She had no idea. So it was, again, self-taught. A DS80 is still 2-stroke, 5 speeds, got a clutch. So, for a 7-year-old, that was quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it took me about 2 months before I even figured it had a shifter, and about a month before I figured it had a clutch. So you just kickstart the thing and rev it up and dump it out into gear. And
well, God bless Miss Whiddett for just diving into that thing without having like any guidance, and for you figuring it out. That's awesome. Because usually you like it's a family thing or it's a mentor thing. Like you got someone to be like, all right, they slap you in the seat, put the helmet on you, and like, all right, this pedal goes this way, this pedal goes this way. Go get them. Like you had to figure that out on your own. That's quite wild.
Well, now I look at obviously having my own kids and being able to, with Lincoln and his racing, be able to, kind of guide him along the way so much then he can feel it out. But just was really self-taught from day one. I think that's been like a huge key to my success, is just growing up with just my mum, not really having a father around to tell me what not to do. I got into my teenage years, was still racing motocross, was very competitive here in New Zealand, was second in New Zealand in juniors. And it got too expensive for my mum to be able to keep up with the maintenance, with requiring new clutch plates and sprockets and new tires, and it just was too much for mum. And at the same time, this is probably going back a little earlier, when I was about 9, was when I discovered a rotary engine, and it was actually, I remember to this day, it was a Mazda RX-4, and it was towing a horse float. And I just remember the sound, and I'm like, man, that is the sickest sounding engine. Found out what it was.
What year was that car?
It was a 74. It's 74 or 75. I was only like 9, but I know it was an RX-4 coupe. I still remember it. Like,
are we able to point those up, Brian?
I'll see what I can dig around. RX-4 coupe, and they come factory of the 13B, and like you would not picture this car like towing a horse float, but it had a single horse float. The dude used to tow his wife out and bring her horse, and that was the first like time I heard a rotary engine. But so here again, we're flipped to you guys. We have our summer is Christmas holidays, so. Christmas, you get surfboards and then you go to the beach and that's your holidays, and all the teenage boys would be rolling around and old 323s and 626s and RX-7s, like making absolute raucous and doing burnouts. And that was, I was just hooked. I'm like, man, those cars are so sick.
Which for those who don't know, in New Zealand and all those other Southern Hemisphere countries, you get Christmas on summer, which has to be the weirdest thing.
It's not weird for them, Paco.
No, what was weird was when I used to watch Home Alone as a kid, and Christmas was like snow and But yeah, so anyway, we as the teenage guys would inspire me when I was a youngster to be a bit of a noisy grommet. Like when this is
noisy. Hold on, a noisy grommet. That's a new term for us.
Write it down.
Yeah, so and this is well before there was like any internet or anything. I had no reach of anything like that. So we used to have on Thursdays this like local paper would come out. It's called the Trade and Exchange, and me and my buddy would race to the local dairy and grab. It'd be like 5:30. We would be on the landlines like before school, and like there's a DX Corolla, like anything rear wheel drive. There's a section that was like under $1,500, and you could pick up like old Toyota DX Corollas, which are worth like crazy money now. Mazda 323, 626, like anything rear wheel drive, and you'd pay like $100, and that would be us. Like our other mates would go out and they'd be buying alcohol and drugs, and we would just like our adrenaline and buzz was cars, man, and just going and beating on them and down gravel roads and on farms. And so the discipline of drifting we learned really, really early.
What year would you say that is? Roughly, you were doing all that.
I was 13, and I had brought I got a Mazda 1978 Mazda 323 hatchback, and it was like $100. And then my buddy had $100, and I swapped the skateboard and his $100. We got a fully crashed RX-7, and we converted the rotary engine out of this RX-7
How
into
dare
the 323.
you? Oh wait,
and
okay.
And we had this rotary 323, and that was us. Like we were rolling the streets. But this is 2 years before I could even really get a license to even drive.
Yeah, what?
Do you know what I was thinking?
Like, do 13-year-olds get licenses in the NZ, or
you got to be 15.
You're raw dogging it.
So Sam, what I was thinking was, like the initial D cartoon and like the historic path of drifting started on the toge. I wish Initial G was based off how New Zealand started drifting. Yeah, so it's Initial Z. And it's the
name of the episode. Got it.
Initial Z, and it's 13-year-olds partying, drifting, drinking, and that should be the evolution of drifting.
Yeah, and he's on the sheep dirt roads. He just sheared one off with a fireball from his rotary. That's sick.
Yeah. So to go on from there, I guess that was the same. So I was into cars. Competitive at motocross. Motocross was getting too expensive for mum. And then the Crusty Demons of Dirt movement started.
Oh, boy.
Brian Deegan, Seth Enslow, Ronnie Feist, like Twitch. And that was like, as I was a kid, my dream was always, when I raced motocross, my auntie, she had Sky TV, which actually played the AMA Camel Supercross. So inspiration back then was like Ricky Johnson, Jeremy McGrath, and those guys. And I'd get to watch them on VHS. She'd record it, and then I'd have the VHS, and then replay it, and then just dream, man. Like I've got to get to California, and I chased that dream for racing, and then, as I said, it got too expensive. So then the Crusty Demon movement started, and that was it. It's like, this is how I'm going to get to the States. I'm going to be a Crusty Demon. And we started doing freestyle motocross down here, and did the first freestyle motocross demonstration here at a big event. It's called Big Day Out, and it's like a huge big music festival here in New Zealand summer just after Christmas. And took my old bike down there, and was, I was like, purchased the bike. I think I was paying it off like $18 a week, and a few of the Australian riders had come over, and they thought it was like the Ghosty bike, because it wasn't brand new. It was much older model, and a Ghosty bike's the one which literally everyone just has a turn on and just launches off the ramp. And I'm like, whoa, bro, that's my bike. I pay that off, man. And then went out, and that was where the name Mad Mike came from, was from a commentator on that day, because he had no idea what I was doing. I really had no idea what I was doing. I just see Brian Deegan and these guys doing these big Supermans, and so I was just trying to replicate these tricks and be, creative and innovator, and trying to just step outside the book, just trying to learn, and have fun and put on a show. And then the commentators started like, Mad Mike. And at the time, dude, I'm like, can you not call me? I hated the name. It was like so cheesy, and it just stuck, and it stuck, and then it's just, now it's led on. It's like, it's turned into a brand. It's crazy.
Do you imagine if you never were called Mad Mike, you're just known as, here comes Michael Whiddett.
Just have
generic.
Real boring.
I thought like Wild Whiddett would have been better than.
That's like the same thing, man.
Wild Whiddett.
I know, but like.
Well, what are we gonna call Lincoln? I mean, lunatic Lincoln, he could be Wild Whiddett.
There's like Loose Link is like, because he's already racing. There's a Loose Link, Lightning Link. There's already a few names around at the racing that people call him, but but I don't know. You've got to have someone else create the name. You can't. Like, if I had to call myself Mad Mike, that would just be wrong. So that was kind of like, a few people were like, dude, at least you haven't called yourself Mad Mike. And for me, like, I didn't like the name at the start, but it's kind of now each time I show up to an event, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's demonstration or Formula Drift or whatever, it's kind of like, oh, why is this guy like mad? And it's not because I'm angry, it's because I just...
You're a maniac on a motorcycle.
Like, it always bums me out when everyone's like, "Oh, here comes Big Dick Sam." Like, I don't want that name.
I don't know how you got that, because it's like one of those things. I want to be
known as oh, here comes like regular nice guy Sam, and everyone's like,
Sam.
"Oh, here comes Sam with his big dick."
Here's Huge Hog Sam.
I
remember that. That was an announcer. You were actually doing a dance that night. You were performing.
Yeah,
and that's how you ended up.
Didn't you give yourself that name?
No. Like, I would give myself the name like. Old dark-haired, looks 25 years old Sam.
Well, it just goes with the flow. We have Big Balls Brian, BD Sam.
Well, Brian called himself Big Balls. I mean, obviously. So it's like we're
Chromie.
like, okay, we're calling Brian that now.
You've still got some of the chrome highlights from the spray paint in your head.
Yeah, I know. Real quick.
What's going on?
Yeah, well, I just got gray young. But Mike, so first of all, I mentioned this on the show often. About once. It's slowed down to about once a week right now, but it used to be up until like last year, maybe once a day on this now 3-year-old video that Mike and I did, this driver on driver up, of New Zealanders being like, how fucking dare you? Like, don't make fun of Mike. And like, it would happen every day. All these people like getting really upset about this obvious joke show. But yeah, it took a while for those to die down. Yeah.
I think
also New Zealand's a small place, but there's not many people down there.
I know. And I've tried to.
My hands.
Yeah, right. And then also, this is kind of a cool story. So this weekend, I was directing a episode of this Hot Wheels Legends tour. So Hot Wheels, the car company.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. So they make these tours, and they're huge car shows at Walmart parking lots, actually. And the winner of this one was a dude named Bill and his son Dylan, and they had a 240Z that they built. They said kind of inspired by your car. And you signed the dash of it, actually. And, so father-son combo, I think he signed the dash a few years ago at FD Seattle. And the 11-year-old Dylan helped build the car, really awesome kid. We did the interview with him. And at the end of the interview, he walks up to me, and he's like, hey, I know who you are. So you're the guy that sprayed your face with Mad Mike. I like that. I'm like, hell yeah, little guy.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that was really cool.
He witnessed.
Yeah, and Sam still hasn't been able to wash the silver spray paint out of his hair either.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
And I don't think I ever told you this story, but also I went out to some like really nice restaurant in downtown Seattle that night, and I thought I cleaned up all the spray paint from the track, and I had not. So like the best part is like I didn't go
you were Post Malone or something.
Yeah, I know. I didn't go straight to the bathroom or anything. I just like walked in and like hung out with my friends for a minute, and then walked to the bathroom. Like, oh, cool. Still got a bunch of
got war paint on.
Embrace it.
Looks like I was huffing glue or huffing spray paint out of a sock. All right, back to the history of Mike. So how old were you when you were in that title at the?
Yeah, so that was 1999. So yeah, I was just going on nearly 20.
Disco was about just to be dead finally.
I'm just waiting for you to say, and then I got hurt, because that seems to be how everyone's MX story ends. But.
Yep. So yeah, FMX. I chased that dream, man, to get to California for 3.5 years, and in those 3.5 years, I mean, I've broken a lot of bones and a lot of concussions when I was racing, and not just. I mean, when I was growing up, I wasn't just doing motocross. I was BMX and skateboarding and anything extreme, man. We were always out. I mean, back then they didn't have iPhones, and we didn't even have bloody cell phones back then, you know. So
you had your pager. You'd beep your friends, but like, want to? Oh, you can't ride it. Only if you had a sidekick, then you could ride.
Oh, yeah, young, you just jump on a bus and take your skateboard and go hit a park for a day, and like that's what you would do, you know. So, but then so 3.5 years chasing this dream to get to America, and far out, man, like snapped my femur in half, had that old clapped out dirt bike, that bit me. In the end, it seized literally on the face. The weekend after this big day out, the following year, this dude was like, man, I got to have you guys ride at my 30th birthday. Like, you guys are gnarly. So we took the ramps out, we set them all up, and the party hadn't even started. We'd set it up, and I was always the guinea pig. The only guy on a 125. Everyone else is running 250s, and everything's two-stroke back then as well.
Right.
And like set the ramp up, sweet, hit it like 5 times, and then 6th time, before anyone had really even started hitting the ramp, like DJ setting up his turntables in this old smashed up van in between our ramps. My bike seizes, just slams into this van. I fly 75 foot knuckle to knuckle. I clear it like absolutely perfectly. With no bike. My bike's in the van, freaking all over this guy's turntables. I did like this big slow motion flip and landed perfectly on the down ramp on my feet. But the impact was just so hard. I flipped rolled 10 foot past the down ramp by the time I stopped, but it felt like my leg had just stuck into the top of like I just sunk into the mud. And I'm like trying to reach down and grab my leg to pull it out of the mud, and there's nothing there, and all I see is this glimpse of my riding boot, this Alpine Stars boot just sitting underneath me, and I was literally lying on my calf, and I'd snapped my femur right up the top. Folded my leg up the side, and raced off to bloody hospital again, and reconstructed the leg with titanium rods and all that, and then it wasn't even it was 2 months after that, and there was New Zealand X Air, which is like New Zealand's X Games pretty much, and it was like where you prove yourself. And for me, it was never about going and winning medals. It was always about just being like Mad Mike, like crashing and crazy style, and on this 125 with like no baffling in the exhaust, and went there, and then got this. There's a trick called the sterilizer, and you do like a bar hop. You jump through the handlebars with both feet.
Yeah.
And then you come, if you get the transition right, you land with your feet over the handlebars, but with your ass still sitting on the seat.
Yeah.
And I got a big gust of tailwind, and I flat landed. Man, it's on VHS. This is like before there was DVDs. But VHS, Homegrown Maniacs, Recipe for Disaster, and I just slam, and my back folds that way, my neck folds that way, and I smash my helmet on the swing arm, and compressed and fractured 4 vertebrae in my back. Didn't know so at the time. This is 2002, so I like bounce up onto my feet, and I stop, and I'm in the commentator's face. Like, I don't know how that happened, but he's like, "Hey, Mike, you gonna jump back on your bike or what?" And I'm like, "No." I couldn't even breathe. I was so winded. I was like, I'll jump at my van. And I had built this Mazda Bongo van and put a 12-8, as you do, put a rotary engine in a Mazda Bongo van. Rattle can camo, and had the bike in the back. That's how we used to roll. But jump in this van, I'm ripping around on the grass, doing skids, and fans are all loving it. And then, within about not even a minute, my legs just started going like the craziest pins and needles. And I started like freaking out because it just started coming really fast from my toes. And so I ripped the van back into the pits, starting to freak out a bit. I was by myself. No one was even in the van with me. I opened the door. I took about 3 or 4 steps and then just collapsed and freaking instantly had no feeling to my legs.
Oh, my God.
And I was punching my legs. I'm freaking out, yelling, swearing, like telling everyone to kick my legs. I can't freaking feel my legs. And, yeah, again, raced off the hospital. I got told that night that I was paralyzed for life from a T7. And the next morning, I woke up with these pins and needles in my left leg and my left toes. And I was like, nurse, I can feel my feet. They came in and what happened was swelling and pinched the nerve down my spine. And yeah, they're just like, yeah, 1 in a friggin' million chance. And like, I'm walking, I'm riding, and my back doesn't really bother me that much now. But this is all just chasing the dream to get to California. And at about the same time as when I discovered drifting.
Well, that might be the craziest story we've ever heard on the show. I had no idea, man.
No.
I knew that you came from Grassroots MX nonsense, and I mean that in the best sort of way, nonsense in New Zealand. But I realized that, like, let's just recap here for a second. You broke a bunch of vertebrae on your bike, and then you're like, nah, the show has to go on. I can't ride a bike anymore. Let me get in my Rotary van. You just did a bunch of donuts with that, and then you literally became paralyzed for life. You became paralyzed, and then passed out more or less and went to the hospital. But the showmanship there is quite
it's
top. I don't even know.
We're starting to see.
We're starting the evolution. We're seeing the evolution right now.
This is the showman, pretty much.
Because that was it, man. And it was the crowd. There was like so many fans there, and I'm like, I've got to keep going. I was literally just into my run, and got to keep going. So just the next thing was like the van. I'll do some skids in the van, and I was on the grass. So the thing's bouncing around every headlight.
Perfect for a bruised spine.
Just awesome. And so that was that.
Yeah. Well, it's honestly one of the other major discussions that we have in the show quite often is, the medals versus the showmanship. And it's like, you can't, of course you can do both. You can go to strive to win the weekend, but it's more important many times that we've seen to be the showman, to make an impact, to wow the crowd, than to get the top place in the podium. And yeah, it's always nice to get up there, but to leave a lasting effect on the fans is more important. And our sport is, it's a judge sport. It's a sport for the fans. It's about fan service. It's about delivering an awesome show as well as being a competition. But you obviously have nailed the showmanship side.
I totally agree on that, and I think like the success for my story anyway is like I was never Blink's gonna go play with some RC trucks. He's at the shop kicking around. My style was it was never about trying to impress the 3 judges. Like from the get-go, it was always like, okay, I'm going to start drifting because of obviously all the injuries I've had. This looks badass fun, and I've been doing this since I was 13 on gravel roads and grass paddocks and just smashing up cars and bouncing off bloody fence posts and trees. And now there's a sport for it, and it was purely dominated by Nissan, and we were like Rotary guys, and there's always like, I know New Zealand's small, but there's like lots of tension between, well, back then it was always like street cred, the Rotary guys and the V8 guys, and even between Holden and Ford and Chevy and Honda, and you'd go to town, I was always like, all the little cliques, and
nothing's really changed.
Nothing's really changed. And that's where like the whole Rotan clan kind of started, was that just like all the different groups. But yeah, I just wanted to come to drifting and be like the only Rotary, like loud, and just like go out there and represent, be this thing like slam. We didn't even run, like the suspension was so low on the RX-7, we weren't even running any shocks. We would wound the platforms right out, maximum camber, stretch tires, and I was just inspired a lot by the Japanese styling. And man, this was just the buzz to get in there. And for me, it was more about putting on a show for the fans and like making sure they got their $20 worth, and that was what I did in freestyle motocross as well. I was never like, yeah, we got some really good results in freestyle motocross and drifting, but it was never the goal. It was it was always the show and the fun side of it, and the kids. And I just remember when I would grow up and going and watching Supercross or whatever, and what inspired me.
Man.
So how did this then turn into you being such a, because you got Mazda support around this time, hopefully they recognize that here's this kid that is breathing life into our engine platform better than anyone of this generation, or no?
No, didn't work like that at all. I mean, the Mazda was just fueled by my blood, really, and passion for it, and the desire to never stop challenging, which is funny because that's Mazda's motto now. Being partnered with them, their motto is never stop challenging. And we, for sure, as every driver, would love to see, and we've seen some very attractive contracts be dropped on our table for different manufacturers over the years. But again, it goes back to that show and the people that had partnered with me since day one, and the fun side of it is creating the cars for me is just as fun as the competition side of it, and having like no role model. So we I don't call ourselves the pioneers, but like being the first ones to try stuff and go out there, rather than being like, oh yeah, that chassis works with those steering knuckles and that engine and that gearbox, and boom, oh, what setting do you run and what alignment? Like for us, the part of the whole buzz is going to the track and trying to figure it out ourselves. And because every driver in drifting's got their own style and their own personal flair, and I think what's really important with drifting is the character of the sports.
Definitely.
It's what keeps it alive, and more of a circus.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's talk about your drift car history then. So what did you start?
How you started sliding?
What did you start messing around with on the track? Seriously.
On the track. So that was Madbull. So the RX-7, which we've just had up at Goodwood Festival of Speed. So that car is...
That was your first real drift car?
Yeah, man. We started putting together this RX-7. Actually, it started, so Redline Performance was really the first company that helped me out. And I went there because they had a wrecked RX-7, an import RX-7, which couldn't be complied in New Zealand, frontal impact laws. But it had a 30mm turbo on it. So I'm like, oh man, I'm going to go and get this car just for the motor. And so we went down there, and they're like, look, man, we've got some like suspension parts and bits and pieces. There's a couple of bits that we could put into that chassis if you were to use that chassis. I was like, my dream was set on doing a 1978 Mazda 626 and putting a 13B in it, running like little 13-inch steel wheels, which a lot of people call that the wheels we run on the old rotaries over here like trailer wheels, but it's like the style over here is like super wide 13x8, 13x9s, and I wanted to do that. And then Redline Performance, because a bit of support, some seats and harnesses, and then all of a sudden it turned into a bit more of a serious project. And then we're like, all of a sudden went to building a naturally aspirated triple rotor. And,
all of a sudden it just goes to that, right?
Well, we had the knowledge, and then with Kiwi RE, we Link's bring your truck over here. Link's.
I hear him banging around.
Yeah, he's got a new toy that's like nearly bigger than him. Yeah, he's gonna bring it to the shop. You got it. Yeah, carry it. Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Jump in the shop there, Link. Jump in the shop.
What's up, Link?
Hey.
Yeah, it's after schoolways. Got a go-kart track in the backyard and RC trucks and stuff to play with. It's pretty easily entertained. Sorry, where were we?
That's all good. It's a good way. It's a good way to get sidetracked. It's got to be nice to be able to provide for your kid and be this father figure to Link and watch him not break something in the background, right? Like,
yeah.
But I mean, you're giving this kid.
Come back broken. Yeah,
you're giving this kid you're giving this kid this awesome opportunity at life and nurturing him and your passion. That's got to be a cool feeling for you, though, right?
Oh, it is, man. Like, there's no better feeling than a dad. It's like, it's the best. Like, to grow up and have no father. It's like, I don't know how you could not, if you had a kid, how you could just leave them.
But you turned out awesome, better or worse. I mean, obviously you would have chosen something would have chosen something else. Maybe you wouldn't have been as much of a lunatic if you did have that father figure to tell you not to. But
well, it even got through those teenage years. My mum even got to the point where she wouldn't take me to motocross because every time I would get hurt, and I did get some successful results, but a lot of the time I would, on the last lap, try to do Jeremy McGrath knack, which I'd seen on this VHS video, and end up crashing, losing like 3 or 4 positions, and then still make it across the finish line, be like pumped, like, yeah, I nearly landed the knack.
Yeah.
But then I look at other like fathers yelling at their kids, like, oh, you're stuffing around out there, and I'm like, man, that looks more like it's the father's dream for the kid to do well than the kid's dream. And so with Link, man, I've just let him. I'm fortunate enough to be able to, at this stage, fuel his dreams, and I haven't pushed him into racing at all. I got him a motocross bike at the age of 2, and he's never once said he wanted to race it. He always goes riding and rips around. But when he came to California for Irwindale Formula D finals, and then we went out, Brian Deegan invited us to Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Championship. Link discovered the trophy carts and was like, damn, like I want to race those. And we've growing down here. There's like 30 trucks ripping around, and he loves it. So,
I've seen your posts about him on Instagram racing those things. Looks like he's doing pretty awesome. What do you think that's his path? What do you think his path is? And do you think he's going to become a career motorsports kid, or does he want to become a scientist or an astronaut? Like, is he going in Dad's footsteps?
I don't know. So a lot of people ask, like, oh, when are you going to drive Dad's drift cars, and are you going to be the next drifter? And to be honest, he's been there since day one. And with drifting, every team knows the politics and the frustration with judging. And since he's seen it, since he's been born, like before he was even one, he was in California for Red Bull World Drift Champs with the ash fires. And he's seen the frustration, not just with our team, but with all the teams. And for him, he just tells people straight up, he's like, I drift and roost and do jumps and do like 15-minute motos, like racing his truck. So his vision now is like he really loves Bryce Menzies and Ricky Johnson and Brian Deegan and racing the trucks. So that's cool. I mean, it's definitely fun. We've got one, we've got Little Rumble, which we've done a few activations with, and that thing, it's nice to be able to just jump in and breathe a little. You're not like so crucial on like every clipping point, so perfect. You can just, it's a great way to just be able to breathe and let loose a little bit. So it's a fun toy, and he already reckons he's jumping in that next year. But Sorensen Motorsport have just hooked us up a really nice mod cart, which just landed on Saturday. So we're waiting for Math to be able to clear that out and get him into the next class. So he just loves it. He just, he's on YouTube watching clips of all the guys in the States, and but he's like any kid. He loves gaming. He loves running around, rugby. He's great at school, and we as a father, we give him his incentives of what he needs to go racing, and you do well at racing, you do well at school, and man, there's nothing better than being a father and having like passionate kids that have their own dreams.
Until he asks for his Ultra 4 class truck, and you got to be like,
who's driving?
Yeah.
I mean, those are all fathers' dreams, and for guys that are doing that now, that have their kids and that, they're racing with their parents, and like, man, that would be an absolute dream to one day be racing with him in the driver's seat and me just being a co-driver and hanging on for dear life.
I've got I've always just, drifting was the start for me personally, but then I've had to do assignments at King of the Hammers the past 2 years, and like, I'm like, all right, get rid of my S14, and I got to figure out a way to buy a lifted truck. Like, I'm not going to do that, of course, but I love.
Well, bang for your buck. Like, seriously, the off-roading is good fun, and like all the drifters pick it up really fast, and it's like I said, bang for your buck. Like, cost, you don't go through like 40, 50 tires in one event. Like we throw gas in it and just beat it.
Those things are built like tanks and drive like a yacht, and good times. All right, before we go back to drifting talk, we do have something called YouTube Super Chat. We let people donate a few bucks to the show, and we always read what they say. Usually they're questions, but Adrian Citos just said words and shit. I think he just wanted to donate to the show and have us read his name in front of his idol, Mad Mike. But anyways, moving on. You guys could always donate to Super Chat and ask questions, or just say words and shit. Up to you, man. All right, so you put the 3-rotor in the RX-7, which I'm still surprised that's your first car. That's still rocking. It's got the facelift now, though, right? It looks a little bit different.
That car has been through 7 generations. So, like I say, the build process is just as exciting as the competition and show and demo side of it. So, for me, literally the day I reveal a car, I'm already thinking like,
what's part 2?
Okay, working with Rotiform, let's do this with the wheels, or Rocket Bunny, like do this with the body kit, and just like honored to be working with some of the world's leading brands that I'm allowed to, like, my vision, let it go wild and be able to create these cars, because that's where it all started, from building cars in the backyard with buddies and being Rotan clan. That's where it all started, and to now freaking having manufacturer support from like Mazda and working and developing parts and being able to get old parts which have stopped being made, but Mazda been able to do that, and the support has just been unreal. And the sport of drifting tenfold has just grown immensely, and it's not just myself, it's the brands that align with these drivers and give the credibility to the sport, because in many countries it is sort of perceived as just a bunch of freaking boy racers or hoons or whatever they perceive us as. But the more the bigger companies coming on board and manufacturers support on the different drivers, and it just grows the credibility of the sport. It's really, really good, and it's grown to be solid. I'm not the only driver out there that makes a career and does this full time.
Definitely. One of the things, since you are actually sponsored by Mazda, and as we know, Mazda dropped rotaries, like it's not making another rotary car. How much
at the moment,
how much support does Mazda actually gives you when it comes to rotaries? Because I know, for example, like you make, you have like a 3 rotary engine car, which Mazda actually made, but when you come up to the 4-rotor engine, that's a lot of custom-made stuff, which we know there's companies who make their own stuff. But do you get a lot of Mazda support when it comes to
parts
engines?
specifically, you mean?
Yeah,
specifically
so
engine,
to be honest,
like rotaries.
Our motors, like the 4-rotor, for instance, 99% of that engine is factory Mazda parts. The only thing that's not factory Mazda is the crank, which we make here in New Zealand. It's just accumulation of like different parts from different years. We use some of the parts in that motor are from the 70s. So we've just worked out the different configurations, whether it's like a naturally aspirated setup, a turbo setup, 3-rotor, 4-rotor, 2-rotor, like whatever it's going to be. And working with, Pulse Performance for many years now, even before Pulse, when they were Kiwi RE, which was on the car when we first started drifting. And, going back before even drifting, building street cars and burnout cars, we've gained the knowledge to be able to build and know which parts to get. So when I say being able to get older parts from Mazda, which aren't made anymore, that stuff is gold to us as a team, because we're able to, utilize and be able to get our hands on these bits, which are no longer accessible. So it's the science, like, with rotaries being unreliable, it's like anything. When you're young, like, you love stuff that's fast, loud, obnoxious, and and when you're young, you don't have a big budget. Well, we certainly didn't, and most of the guys just try to do it yourself. And if we were drill porting motors to get the lumpy idle, like instead of like doing a nice bridge port, we just literally drill straight through the side plates, make you call it just a drill port down here. It's rough as guts, but it gives the thing a lumpy idle, and that the reliability is throwing straight out the window if you just literally putting it through. Like, a lot of our parts now are all CNC. We'll start with a factory part from Mazda, and then goes and be machined or whatever. So it's just a key between the parts you use, the assembly, the tolerances, and then the tune is obviously really important, what fuel you run. And I think for us, that with running Madbull up in the States, just the humidity levels, ambient temperature, like all that changes so much from round to round, and you only got limited test time, which a lot of people don't see from the outside when running a Formula, like credibility, every team that's in Formula Drift, especially the new ones, because without that data, it's really, really hard with such limited seat time to just be able to rock up there and straight away, first lap, you got freaking Chris Forsberg and those dudes just banging out like their first lap of practice. It's like a blinding qualifying run. Like, holy shit, man, we're competing against. We got to figure out what gear ratios, our fuel, the two-stroke mixture, like there's so much that goes on to having a competitive platform for that weekend.
Well, and obviously there's been, sorry, real quick, Corey, there's obviously been some changes to the motor in the 55 years it's been around, but that's crazy. You're running a 55-year-old motor, and I mean, do you still, obviously you still stand by it, but I mean, you still use it in competition. How difficult is it to keep that thing going? I mean,
well, to be honest, like, so the engine in Madbull right now, if you like pull up an engine bay shot of that and you look at the first three housings are different than the fourth. The fourth one is because the first three is actually my original 3-rotor that was in that car.
That's crazy.
So they're the same parts from when it was screaming around the banks at Irwindale in 2007. Literally, it's been banging limiter since then. And then we did rebuild it each year, but it was only when Red Bull came on board. We wanted to do this 4-rotor, and we only had like so much time before Red Bull World Drift Champs. So we're like, just pull it apart. We built a crank. We got another housing, kind of like slammed it back together. It's a bit of a rush, but like it takes 4 weeks for the car to get to Long Beach from New Zealand. So we just wanted to come out with a bang at Red Bull World Drift Champs. And so to this day, that motor is still the same. I was saying about how each year we did rebuild it for a number of years, but it was only to develop that configuration. So we were trying different like port sizes on the exhaust, and then different intake runner lengths, and never once did it come apart because of failure. It was more just to try and get more power, find some more torque, because it is a very low torque engine. So then my driving style just kind of adapted more around the high RPM, and instead of modulating throttle, we just keep your right foot flat and modulate clutch. Right. So the development just went through there. I mean, to this day now, so this configuration in Madbull, which we just ran last month at Goodwood Festival of Speed, that engine has been assembled for just over 5 years now. And
really?
And like, I tell you, every time we bring that thing out at Drift Force, like my Grassroots days, it goes all around the world. Like, we can never sometimes run the exact fuel, but we've got Gareth from Pulse that's like really switched on with the tuning, and it's just a team, and we really know how to dial in the rotor engine. That's our specialty, and it's been, again, it's what kind of has separated us apart from many of the others. And it's not because we like wanted to, well, we did want to be different, but it was like, that's what we knew from youngsters.
Yeah, I want to definitely talk more about that, but Corey, what you got?
Yeah, no, so I was going to ask Mike, before he kind of rolled in this conversation, he mentioned something about how the companies are the ones that are progressively growing the sport and being involved with different drivers and teams. But at what moment did you realize that you had a shot at becoming this professional drifter? What was kind of that triggering moment where it's like, I have a shot at making something out of this?
2007 D1 GP World All-Stars, when it was my first year drifting, and I had been competing in the D1NZ season out here. Hold on, Link's just locked himself out. 1 second.
Yeah.
Well, before he comes back, we have also a super chat question.
Yeah, I saw that from Taranandu Moke.
Taranandu Moke. That is probably New Zealand. You think it's from New Zealand?
No, I would.
It's an interesting name.
We'll get to that after.
We'll ask you a question in a second, bro.
Yo, you guys there?
Yeah,
we're gone.
Yeah, sweet. So 2007 D1 GP World All-Stars. So it was my first year drifting. I've been competing in the D1NZ Championship, and actually mathematically had a chance of taking the championship my first year ever competing. However, the same year was my third event, was D1 GP World All-Stars Driver Search. And Yoichi Mamura, who was like, when it came to drifting, was my number one inspiration, obviously just because he drove an RX-7, his attitude and the car, the Rotary. And he came down with Takatori to do demonstrations, and part of, Sushiya-san was there as a judge with Suzuki, and yeah, that was my third event, and we had to finish. The top 5 got licenses to go to D1GP World All Stars. So nothing funded. It was just simply a plastic card, which was a license. And so that fell pretty much not on the same weekend as D1NZ Grand Finals, but it was around this. Like, we had to ship the car out, obviously, and 4 weeks for it to get to LA. So this first year drifting is like, do I stay in New Zealand and try to get a D1NZ title, or do I take this like once in a lifetime opportunity, max everything out, sell everything I possibly can, and like this dream for me to get to California, freaking this is it. Like, so man, we put everything into it. I was working 5:30 to 5, so 5:30 in the morning to 5:30, cutting trees. So like pretty physical job, climbing trees, hanging out with chainsaws. 5:30 to 8:30, I was like in the workshop, learned how to fabricate, because this is my uncle's arboricultural company called Treescape. So I was in there, and then learned how to weld, because I was like, man, I just want more hours. So I was building their trucks that would have the big chippers and all this sort of stuff on it. And then I'd get home from that at past 8:30, and then be straight into sign writing, where that was my trade out of school, was doing graphic design. So I was in all this, like, man, I just everything I possibly can to fund a container to be able to go to California. And we made it happen. Put the car in the container with the other Kiwis, and it was a freaking awesome trip. And it was really what set the name Mad Mike in stone in the drifting industry. It was like this mad Kiwi freaking screaming Rotary around Irwindale, and to many is still a lot of people's like favorite drifting moment of mine.
So,
my career.
So at this time, you did this crazy hustle, got the car out to California. What was the delivery at that point? Was there many people on board on that, or was that kind of just your own creative design and just kind of the few guys that supported you? But how did that look, and then how that project to the future?
Yeah, so it was pretty plain, but what I was known for was camo, and the camo has been with me since day one of Rotaries, of getting a rattle can and just spraying the car's camo. And so if you notice through all our cars, there's a bit of camo in there somewhere, whether it was the Need for Speed in 2010, we did it with the Need for Speed icons with matte black, gloss black, and the reflective, and there's always been camo in all the cars. So that year was it was a digi camo. We just wide bodied it with a BN Sports, like wide body, again pretty much running no suspension, Japanese work equipped wheels.
It looks incredible.
Stretch tires, and that was the buzz. Like it wasn't about. No one was chasing grip. Well, we certainly weren't. We were just trying to get the car slippery and noisy with the side pipe exhaust. And all the partners that were on board there was definitely like no big financial support anyway. I remember like Thumpster. That was a logo that's on there, and they were like giving me free pit bikes, which I just destroy. I actually was still making a little bit of money on the side by I kind of went back to doing freestyle motocross, but this is when pit bikes kind of kicked off. And so I was doing pit bike demos to get a little bit extra coin, just, we're backflipping them and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. It was like a movement which really took off from Crusted Demons to do it as well.
That was that 50 Nuts era. Did you ever see
Z50s on Crusty Demons Dirt 3. So saw that, and then that took off, and just doing what I can. So the support wasn't huge, but man, the passion and determination, bro, it was there. And I was very fortunate to, just before I got into drifting, I met Tony, and she's just been really what flipped my life around from being like a bit of a hoon and just breaking bones. And I'll be honest, I got into bit of trouble with the law when I was young, all for just driving offences. But she saw talent somewhere, and we just got on like a house on fire for literally 7 days after we met, we had moved in together, and it was just the best partnership ever. And we've now been able to build both our dreams. She's very full into cars. We've built show cars for her, which she's won a lot of car shows here in New Zealand with, we've done V8 twin turbo Lexus swap Mercedes. We've done 13B turbo swap S-Class Mercedes. We've done the recent Maserati bi-turbos, freaking just done an MX-5 full rocket, but like those are her visions, and then I'm able to, put them together again with our partners that are on board with our race program. So it's been cool. That was our big turning. So then it was not huge support financially, but the livery was just, it was more like logo, like Metal Militia would kind of hook me out with a bit of gear, and that was always like the dream to be Metal Militia when I was riding FMX. Like Deegan was, he was the pioneer of the sport, man. You're either a Travis Pastrana fan or a Deegan, and Deegan was the one. I liked his core, coming from a limited budget. Yeah. He just fitted my role a lot more, and to be able to represent those sort of brands in America was a good feeling, man.
Yeah.
Really good.
And the crazy part is a lot of, I feel like 2007 FD cars haven't aged well stylistically today. But if someone were to bring in your 2007 FD car like tomorrow or next year in 2019 in FD, everyone would be like, this is the sickest shit I've ever seen. This wide body BN Sport FD on some work wheels, like that would blow some minds. And digital camo, I mean, that's kind of aged well too.
Well, that's what we've all tried to, with all my builds, it's like finding that balance. Yeah, we could jack our cars up another 25 mil and freaking narrow the rear track in a little more and get more side bite here and there. But for me, it's like a balance of building a car that's competitive enough, because obviously you want to be in the show, but also looks badass, because I hate a crap looking car. And like I said, the day you reveal the car, it's always like, oh man, just seeing it, and it's trying to build a car to express your own personality without having to even talk. People can just look at a car and listen to it and see its driving style and picture a person, I guess. That's like, it's very, very addictive.
Definitely. Well, all right, we've got some super chat questions we want to get to before we go on. Here's one from Tara Nandu Moke, Mike, I don't know. Does Mike have any inside info on the RX-9?
RX-9, so I mean, a lot of it's confidential, but Mazda still to this day are hardcore pushing for the rotary engine. It's unfortunately you guys that have such freaking strict emissions and smog that are making it really difficult for Mazda to be able to meet, to meet the emissions. Rotaries love to burn fuel, so they're still producing it. Yamamoto-san, who was the lead, he was the leader of the 787B project to win Le Mans in 91 from many years of back in the 70s. He's had huge development with Mazda and the rotary engine. He's also the designer of the ND MX-5, and they are still pushing really hard to, have a global release. They love the spirit of the rotary engine, and for sure would love to bring it back one day, but it has to make sense, and it has to be a sellable product. I guess the way you can look at it is a lot of my fans, they'll look at the fact that Mazda, though they don't produce rotary engines like right now in a current production vehicle, the fact that they are helping support our program, financially and with the parts and being able to build that to run the rotary engine is insane, So not many manufacturers would sponsor a team, whether it be friggin' rallycross or drifting or whatever the discipline, and be able to run a motor, which is like what they were pushing back in the 90s, So
is there sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we're very, very fortunate for that position.
Is there like a hybrid electric something that's still Wankel rotary that works? I mean, I'm sure you know the motors better than almost anyone. Like, is there some
brushless RC truck that limits?
Is there like a 3-rotor where 2 of the rotors shut down and are replaced by a electric motor? And then
man, I get tagged and stuff on my Facebook and stuff all the time of people creating bullet parts and rotary engines and electric stuff. And, it's crazy. People they just have a backyard in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
Oh yeah.
And just the science behind some people is incredible. So I don't know. I really hope one day that the RX Vision comes alive and is available on the market. But I'm telling you, Mazda are working really, really hard, and it's their dream just as much as mine to have the rotary.
Yeah, looking
screaming out on the streets.
I know. Looking at that Vision Coupe, I saw there in FD Canada last year for the first time a Mazda Unos. and that car is sick. Like that immediately caught my eye as like one of the coolest looking cars I've ever seen.
Full Class A style. I mean, the thing would not look wrong sitting next to some high class Lamborghinis and stuff. Yeah, it's really cool looking car, and I think the vision, the way that Mazda sculpt their car and design their cars is really, really cool as well. So that's a very unique company.
Yeah, I'm looking at that on your Instagram right now. That's what reminded me of the Uno, so it looks really cool.
Yeah.
All right, we got another question here from Joshua Osborne, and we're going to mention Driftshifters because we got an upcoming event, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Perfect.
He's asking you, though, any word on bringing Driftshifters to the U.S.?
Man, my dream is to take it as a global championship like Red Bull X-Fighters, did with taking X-Fighters to all these different, Dubai and Tokyo and London and, LA or San Francisco or, somewhere in this, of course, like that was, it would be a dream, but even just to do one event requires so much time from my part as well. It's be able to, I'm one that always has to do everything like full throttle, 100%. And that's why I kind of haven't done drift shifters over the last few years, because I've put so much input into Formula Drift and trying to prove myself and team against those guys that there wasn't a spare second to be able to even think about doing drift shifters. So, as much as I have an amazing team at Red Bull that go and get sit down with the councils and do everything that, put everything in line to make it work, I believe like I've got to be there and I've got to sell it because I've got so much passion for it, and then the brainchild behind it is like, I want to be the person that sells it. So you've got to really invest the time, and for it to be a banger, you're not just going to do another drift shifters because we've got a good platform and let's just do another one and roll it out. It's got to be like, what's next?
Yeah, it's got to be perfect.
A new venue, a bigger venue, different obstacle, different style of sensor. The hardest thing is actually selecting the drivers as well. That's kind of more the final part of it, but it's still a really tricky part of like, man, now which drivers do I have to come and represent and like our sport of drifting? It's not just represent drift shifters. It's because to many, this is all they see is drift, because we take it to the people and the people just stumble across it because it's in the hearts of the cities. It's what it is. So to answer the question, I do really want to bring it to the States, and for sure we're going to be pushing hard to grow it into a global championship. So I hope one day, I don't know which state, but we'll hopefully come to USA.
Well, that's always a consideration, though, too, is you obviously want to never half-ass anything. And not only that, you want to be future-forward thinking. And I imagine to do more investment of time and energy from you would require you doing nothing else, right? I mean, because you can't – I mean, you could hire a full staff to do this, I guess, and hopefully the event would pay for them and all that. But it's like still it would then be not you.
Yeah, it's not my. I mean, how long is it taking to get me to sit down and do maximum?
Oh boy,
I know, right? Well, we appreciate your time greatly.
I'm sorry it's taken so long. You guys have been under me
for
a while, and
we didn't want
and
you.
Tommy and the boys have been.
We didn't want you till now.
Oh, right. Okay, I'm out. Peace out.
Come back.
Oh.
Bye.
All right,
No, I was saying like if you bring it to Arizona, we can use the street outside my house.
Yeah, it's a nice street. It's a beautiful
street.
Yep.
We can close it totally. Yep. Like my neighbors will be totally cool with that. And,
how many like seriously the track we have in UK for Liverpool it's next weekend. It's crazy to say.
I know.
Is ridiculous. So the last drift shifters we've had have been awesome, but to give you an idea, those were 5 lanes wide and just over 150 meters long. This is 5 lanes wide just on one side of the street. We're coming out of a tunnel, which is on Fast and Furious 5, up into this main intersection, which is 5 lanes deep. Just on that side, you'll flick into an angle box. You cross through the medium strip. There's a gap in the concrete. Fly through that, and there's this massive D-shaped island, which is a giant wall ride all the way around the outside. And then you have another 5 lanes of street, which is over 250 meters long to accumulate as many points. So we've had to up the time for the cars, because the last time we did 60 seconds. So the cars are going to get a lot more punishment for the time that they need to be out there. But yeah, it's just going to be an absolute banger. In UK, like Red Bull UK have just been freaking phenomenal. The council have just been like amazing, and it really is going to be a freaking kick-ass event.
Oh yeah. We have a couple more questions, but I do want to. I guess let's stay on Driftshifters right now. Don't worry, Kyle. We're gonna stay. We're gonna get to you in a minute here. But so Driftshifters UK. Why Liverpool now after the NZ one?
Well, Red Bull UK came to us, and you know, they're like, man, do you want to bring it to UK? Of course. And it was just perfect timing. A simple discussion that came up at Goodwood Festival of Speed last year, and they're like, look, we've already been like in discussion with councils, and so we delayed our flight. We friggin' boosted up to Liverpool and checked out a couple of venues, and man, it was perfect. So
yeah.
The wheels have been in motion since Goodwood Festival of Speed last year, and here we are. We're a week out, well, just over a week, and we're going to be up there with it unfolding.
Are you competing in this one?
I'm going to compete. Yeah, of course, I love to compete, but what we did do this year was rather than me test all the sensors, I know it's my event, and obviously we need to design it, and it's like my vision. But I got a local pro down here, Darren Kelly, to come out, and we set up all the sensors and got him to run around it. So as much as we didn't have Darren involved in the main competition, it was awesome to bring him on board and get his perspective and feedback and get him to run around his pro drift car on the circuit. So we're actually, the track is so big, even here at Hampton Downs, we're unable to, because you got to test like all the sensors. A lot of them are wireless. You got to make sure. So when it comes to setup, there's only so much time we have. So the guys like test everything from the whole like rollout to close it all down. So we set it up in sections, and with his feedback, and then we've got a really, really sick track. So, but for me, competing, of course, I want to compete. The fans want to see us screaming in the Rotary. So I want to compete as much as I can.
Well, the entire concept is incredible in that, and then I'm sure there's some people that are listening to our show that still don't know what it is, because the last one was a few years ago now. But it's essentially it's kind of the evolution of drifting that we have talked about on the show a little bit, and it's not, of course, getting rid of FD or other competition tandem battles, but it's kind of another way to look at it, kind of like Monster Jam, kind of like just this crazy show. And I think you described it, Mike, as kind of like pinball in drifting.
Yeah, high octane pinball, and for sure, like you just said, I'm not at all trying to reinvent the sport of drifting. The tandem format, is I still thrive upon and love the whole showmanship and the proximity and the show, the excitement, the adrenaline. It's not all about trying to like reinvent, like this is how drifting should be. This is just, simply with Red Bull, we have these rad Red Bull athlete summits where all the athletes sit down and brainstorm like ridiculous ideas together, and what's the next craziest thing in your sport? It's whether you're a BMXer as a freaking quad flip, or for me it was like if we could create a drift event with no judges and it's fully automated and had radar sensors for speed that the police use, and proximity sensors and angle sensors, and all triggered with pinball sound effects, and had live time like scoring so even kids could follow it, and it just, that's what Red Bull were like, man, this sounds freaking epic, and they gave it wings, they flew it. So really, really epic to have that sort of support to be able to, whether it's a world record, a championship, or a whole vision of an event, that the Red Bull support is just unreal.
Are there going to be any super secret Mad Mike triple bonuses that only you're going to know about? And then like everyone's like, why is Mike running this really fucked up looking line? And then like all of a sudden
definitely not. There's like I said, I'm all in it for the show, and if we can come out on top, it's of course a bonus. We did win the last one, but guys can watch every one of my runs. Everyone was totally different, and there's so much time that goes into the development of it. That's you've got to hit every sensor. You've got to actually position the car where it needs to go and get the proximity and get the combos, and it's as fair, and it's a really cool concept that the fans can understand.
So real quick, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, so you're talking a lot about sensors. Can you kind of explain the sensors? Because from watching the first Red Bull Driftshifters from New Zealand, you had sensors that have really kind of could change the sport of drifting, even on professional level, because they're pretty unique. Can you explain those a little bit?
Yeah, We've been working down here very hard on those sensors from day one, like well before the first Driftshifters, to make sure it's going to be a credible event. I know lots of people have tried sensors before, but they trigger with smoke and debris, and so a lot of development's gone on that. And then right down to, if you YouTube the Red Bull Driftshifters, you can see some of the behind the scenes technology clips, and it shows like some of the sensors which actually gauge exactly how much proximity to the millimeter. So we can set those whether they just trigger within a certain range. So we may set some at 300 millimeters. I don't know what that is in inches, sorry, but
no one does.
We will we can set them to depending on the difficulty of the course and the obstacle. So for instance, the finish one, so we have the first sensor is really long. So literally all you got to do within the time frame is just freaking get the nose of your car in the finish, and you'll get the bonus finish points that you finished in time. The next one halfway down the car is half a meter, 500 mils, so pretty short. Like, what's it? It's like a foot or something like that.
Foot and a half is half a meter.
Yeah. And then, so if you get that one, if you kind of come in your 45-degree angle, it's slightly better. And then the last one is like we have set at 100 millimeters. So it's only like 3 inches or something like that. And then that's you. If you park it perfectly, then you get maximum bonus points. So, the sensors, it's great, like the sensor technology, but then the program is what blows my mind. Is being able to accumulate the points, tally up the points with the combos. So if you get, say, in the wall ride, we may have 6 sensors. You trigger each one, might be 100,000 each, but then the system knows if you trigger all 6, bang, gives you the big triple combo, bang, real time. The fans know what's going on. The scores on the big screen.
I was going to say, you have this new series that comes out, and they come out with this crazy sensor technology. Why don't you think other series have tried creating or implementing something like this? Because I think the biggest disconnect on a professional drifting level is the disconnect from new fans understanding what's actually happening on track. And to have something like that could be super crucial, and obviously it's changing the sport.
Yeah.
And
I mean, probably because at the same time, each series is going to have its own original thing, because, for example, one of the things about the shifters is that it is strictly scored by the sensors. There's no judges on it at all, right?
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, there are championships that use, automation judging.
Yep.
We've competed in championships that have used that in the past. But it's very different. I guess it's harder to, and everyone's trying to develop to grow the sport, in which, every championship's got their own director that's got their own vision on how they should see it and trying to grow the best championship. And, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I guess doing tandem format's probably very tricky.
Yeah, that's where it falls apart, is tandem, I think. I could see it in qualifying.
Also, too, Sam, is it's for something like that, for tandem, is the lead car would be required to run the maximum points. The chase car's points won't matter. It'd be based off proximity to the leader's points.
Yeah.
So there could be a couple different variables based on how you would judge that.
Yeah, I've thought like deeper into like not going in too deep and letting out too many secrets, but like progression of drift shifters in tandem would be the lead car gets the points, but then the chase car chases around and can steal the points if they get the. So I'm gonna I'll leave it there, but just progression with. It's just always just thinking about what's next, and for me, nothing's perfect.
I know what's next for shifters.
What do you got?
So I'm a big pinball fan.
Okay.
So I love the combos and all the points racking. I think at the very end of each race, you need to implement
bonus ball. Bonus ball?
No.
The multi-ball. When you
the multi-ball, and then all of a sudden, bang, your teammate comes in and
there's 10 cars on the track.
Yeah. Well, I would like to see fatalities.
That's like Mortal Kombat.
Finish him.
Yeah.
And,
Jesus,
just pop somebody's
get a launch
tire.
or a cannon to
cut somebody's car in two.
Man,
Paco's really morbid.
Also, that radio control battlefield thing that they have, like I've seen it on freaking some documentary, and they like got to build the craziest radio control cars that have got like.
The battle bots?
It turns into battle bots.
Yeah, battle bots.
Yeah.
Those are crazy.
Do a real life version of that. That'd be very entertaining to watch.
Thanks.
So, Paco, what do you charge for consulting? How much?
Usually about half a mil.
Okay, oh, so that's not
but
bad.
I'm gonna let it slide.
There you go.
My man Mike.
Have you heard of RoboRace, Mike?
Yeah, of course, yeah. With lots of guys we've worked with in the past.
Rod Chong is over there. I work with him.
June.
Yeah, so we make
lots of PD, long list, and what they've come up with is incredible. You know, that we got to witness it at Goodwood Festival of Speed last month, and it's just crazy the technology on what people. I was saying earlier, you know, it can be some random dude in a shed in the middle of nowhere and just comes up with, you know, just has the science.
Yeah, it's super cool, and like we've talked about a little bit on here, it's like people are afraid of like, oh, robots taking over drivers. That's like, oh no, it's not taking over drivers. It's like complementary to it. You could have real drivers on the course and then a bunch of robot cars that are like trying to sabotage each other and blocking other drivers, and like there's so much potential for
chasing you with machine guns.
Tying it back, pushing the envelope on what is kind of the new motorsport, which Mike is doing here with Driftshhifters to some degree. What have you changed since the last one? What have you learned? What were your mistakes then that you're correcting now, or what's new and exciting that's different?
Bigger course is the main one, and then the proximity sensors. Again, we've developed those even further. There's different ways of being able to get combos, and now being able to trigger like time, so between one combo from one obstacle to the other. So we're just always trying to think, you know, what's next, and you got to be quite creative on what we can do. I know when Matt Powers, he was like, oh man, we should make like a dunk tank where you hit a sensor and then the crowd will sit on a dunk tank and you hit it, get the crowd involved, and you know, if you can get their interaction as well is always a bonus. So but yeah, we've got some cool stuff, man. Like, the track's gonna be really cool. So it's happening next weekend, 19th of August. It'll be live streamed as well.
So you
you can run spoilers, but
no, not that.
Oh, no spoilers. Oh yeah.
I thought you were making it funny.
Yeah.
No, obviously you don't want to reveal all the cool stuff that's going to be happening. So where do we watch it?
So Red Bull UK are going to have it streaming, but of course get down there. The tickets are available redbull.uk/Driftshhifters. You can get all your tickets there. We're mega grandstands this year. The last two we've done free, and we've had complaints that people would have rather paid for tickets so they could get seating.
Oh, right.
So this year we're putting in grandstands, and it should be epic. Everyone will be able to get a good viewing.
Who's Liverpool? What time does it go live, and what time do we watch it live online?
It's on Sunday, and
this coming Sunday.
Not sure. Following Sunday.
Following Sunday. So the 19th.
19th of August, and it kicks off in the morning. But just follow madmike.123 on Instagram or my Facebook, and we'll have all the live streams. I'll be putting all the links up there so you guys can see it all unfold. I'm pretty pumped. We've got a freaking massive lineup of like. I said earlier, the toughest thing is picking the drivers list, but
look at the drivers.
Like got a real banger.
Who's announcing the event?
We have Jared Deander, Formula Drift. So I mean we've had Jared come and voice all my events from my Grassroots. Well, you know, the Mad Mike Summer Bash here in New Zealand, and we've got a great friendship, and he's frankly there's no better man for the job. You know, he knows the sport better than anyone else, and I feel he brings a real bang to the event. So pumped, can't wait to see you, J-Rod, up there. Safe travels, and it should be a freaking epic weekend. And we've got Eddie as well, so Eddie from UK as well, who's well known up there, and he partnered with Jared announcing the first Driftshhifters. So those two, with their knowledge, is good, and it'll keep the fans entertained all day.
I've had thankfully a good dad growing up, but I called Jared the drunk dad that I never had.
Yep.
I love Jared. So some of the drivers, Mad Mike Whiddett's in it, but you got Finger Dan is in it.
Finger Dan, he was my wild card actually out of New Zealand. We had Gaz Wider from New Zealand who won the Superclass here at my Mad Mike Summer Bash. I didn't actually announce it until the drivers briefing that day, which to many surprise was the winner of the Superclass today would go forward full expenses paid for trip to UK for Red Bull Driftshifters at an undisclosed location, which we hadn't announced obviously at the time. And and then we had obviously the container going up. We pushed Fangadan, his Ford Mustang in there, and so we've got 3 of us batting for New Zealand, so we've got a strong field.
But then you also have Jimmy D, James Dean, who's currently dominating every single drift event he goes to. So we'll see if he can continue that dominance. Yep,
and we have James Dean, of course, Frederick Arzado. Like again, we've done some amazing driving with Freddie, from gut bulls to competing in Formula Drift, and to have the credibility of these guys it's humbling myself actually to be able to have these drivers all want to be involved in the event and the credibility of. We've had Chris Forsberg, Ryan Turek, Tyler Macquarie, so and those guys to come and experience it and go away, like that was freaking really cool. Was very humbling to be able to as I said, from that simple brainchild discussion and thought of making this event to having all the top drivers around the world want to be part of it. It's really cool.
Yeah, just real quick, going through the rest of the list, you've got Joachim Wagard. I don't know the name, unfortunately. We got Kawabata.
We can call him front flips.
Front flips, all right.
Front flips, yeah. Formula Drift after party in Abu Dhabi. We tried to get shoved off the floor by some local b-boys, and we showed them what's up.
Masato Kawabata, Forrest Wang, Matt Carter, Dean Carney, and then there's still 2 positions blacked out.
Yep, which they'll be released very shortly. So like I said, just absolutely pumped with the lineup. I think Forrest Wang's going to represent awesome for USA out there.
Yeah, you've got 2 of the most notable S15 drivers ever of all time right there. So James Dean, the most winningest dude of recent times, and Forrest Wang is everyone's fan favorite because he has that style thing that you got going as well.
And just
it's going to be a crazy lineup.
And just to make sure, Sam, we are claiming James Dean under the USA for this, right?
Yeah, James Dean is USA driver. He's driving the US
for Driftshifters.
Yeah. You guys claimed Reese Millen there for Formula Drift. I noticed as soon as I got to the States, the first back in 2007, whatever it was. Reese had the American flag next to his name. Huh?
He bleeds red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Just like his car.
And
which, by the way, I was just going to say real quick, I think one of my favorite battles, which I'm sure we're going to go into this in a little bit, but one of my favorite battles, and I think a lot of people would agree with you at Formula Drift, it was against Forrest Wang in Road Atlanta, where you guys went one more time a couple times.
Seattle. Seattle was. I went one more times.
It's happened a couple times, hasn't it?
Yeah. I think every driver's got that one person they always end up battling, and for me, it seems like Dai Yoshihara is probably that person who I love. Like that first year we came back in 2010, every round except one we battled Dai, and we had one more times every time. So that was a good feeling to be, because at the time he was the current champ as well. So. That was epic, but the one more times with Forrest at Seattle, and I think it was the frustration between the 2 differences of the cars, of Madbull being so wild and fast that we could pull away, but then just trying to slow the thing down behind them was really, really difficult. And put on a hell of a show for the fans, and that was wild. It was good fun.
I just realized that James Dean is driving in his sacrilegious, is it an SR powered FD, right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, usually freaking hate upon that sort of stuff, but James drives that wild. So, at the end of the day, it's explosive driving, and it's the character of the cars, the sound, and everything. So,
it still sounds like
we're pumped. And to have James on board is just going to be epic for the event as well.
So my one and only criticism I can think of watching the last one was I felt like as a live stream viewer, there wasn't enough on screen to dictate that there was a super bonus going on. I just see someone's points stack up much more rapidly than someone else's without seeing a drastic change in driving, just because they were a few inches closer to the wall, but I couldn't really see that from the live stream. Is going to be a crazier, more immersive live experience? Will bonus flash on the screen or something to let us know that the points are being acquired?
Yeah, so I don't control that side of it. Of course, I have the
bastards. You got to control everything. We talked about that.
I I get the final say, I guess, at the end of it once they've brought up the drafts and all that. But yeah, like I say, the sensors literally can trigger within the millimeter. So depending on where they're set, some of them are at 100 mils. So it's hard to gauge 100 millimeters. What we have done this year, though, to try and make it a little clear, is the shorter ones are actually not so short. I think the shortest ones we have is one which gauges to the millimeter, but the rest of them, like the wall rides, are actually set at about 300 millimeters. So you don't have to. Oh, that's cute. So you don't have to be literally rubbing the wall and smashing the course to pieces.
That was my favorite, though. I remember Forsberg or Turkle, someone was explained to me in the last one. They're like, yeah, I saw the guy get all those points by bashing into the K-rails and running their bumper against them and ripping the whole thing off. Like, I'm going to go do that. And they did that, and I'm sure they ripped up some sensors, and I'm sure you probably dealt with some mechanical difficulties on that, too, with people just destroying sensors with bumpers, right?
Yeah, we've got spare sensors and spare bollard. Like Matt Powers at the first one, like literally just wiped out a bollard, and we decided it was in a practice run, and we just decided, look, although we had a spare bollard with the sensors, we figured it's probably best we just remove it because of this. We didn't realize the speeds that we were going to be coming in. Of course, we kind of like tested it, but it was on a gravel airstrip, so nothing like the same sort of grip. And then, of course, the driver's all pushing, 100%. It's risky as motorsport. Everyone's pushing really hard. So, we do have spare sensors in that aspect. We're about to keep the show running.
Well, I can't wait, man. What time did you say it goes live again? At least in Liverpool time.
Liverpool's like just after lunchtime. So, yeah, like I say, I'll post up all the times. Guys are setting up the course, and then,
Follow Mad Mike to find out, and we will certainly do so.
Mad Mike.123.
123, dog.
Yeah.
Is that,
hey,
is
guys,
that also...
I've got about, just looking at the time. I know I've got my son's running around breaking things, but
we're going to get you out of here.
My daughter, I've got about 10 minutes left that we can that'll be 5 o'clock, and then I need to go pick up my little girl.
Well,
man, we got you. So
we have a bunch of questions on YouTube still.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we usually at the end of the show throw it to our Instagram questions, and we're going to start with, of course, our Super Chat questions. This first one, these are all from fans. They just want to figure out what's up with Mike and some specifics from you, getting deep. First one is Kyle Cross. Thank you for the huge Super Chat. We appreciate it, buddy. Long-time listener, first-time listener. Question for Mike. If a person was wanting to start drifting, I'm sure we're already going to know the answer to this one. What car would you suggest? What setup would be your basic must-haves for a beginning car? And then he has a question for us on how soon.
I will say anything rear-wheel drive, not being manufacturer specific. Yeah. As long as it's rear-wheel drive, dude, like it will drift. So rear-wheel drive, and then the simples gets in race tape. Tape up the button on your handbrake, so it's just a quick release. Weld up depending on your budget, but I'm just on the cheap, a rear-wheel drive car, pull the diff head out, weld it up so it's fully locked, tape up the handbrake, mate, and then if you got 100 horsepower, just use more momentum. You can, you don't need 1,000 horsepower to drive. It's kind of why we built the taxi as well, to prove a point where you don't have to have 1,000 horsepower. To go out there and drift. Like drifting is just a balance, and it's cool that you can do it as grassroots with 100 horsepower, or you can build these plus 1,000 horsepower crazy machines.
Funny thing,
but if it was 13-year-old Mad Mike, and you've been watching drifting and doing everything, or watching what everyone else is doing, and it's 13-year-old Mad Mike in 2018 today, and you've got a few G's. What are you going to buy as your first car?
Yeah, I'd buy an FC RX-7, and I would modify the FC RX-7. I'd just leave pretty much factory motor. Like, it'd be the last thing you want to be doing is starting to put more power into it. Best thing to be doing is strength. So your diff, your gearbox, your axles, and then suspension. So then you have a reliable setup. When you go to the track, you're getting your money's worth, and you're loading up your car at the end of the day with a whole lot of ball tires on the trailer, rather than loading up on the second lap because you brought this brand new turbo and now you've just snapped an axle on your second lap. So those are my words of advice. If you haven't got the power, use the momentum.
Nice.
You got Paul's, Paca?
No, I was just going to say that was the exact same recipe that started with the van, the duct tape on the e-brake. And
All right, let's make this. Let's bang through these questions. I don't have much time. Paul Villagekov, I got it right. Yeah, I nailed it. Question: Since Humble resides in Japan, do you have any plans to enter the FIA Drift Cup this year? And what is your opinion on D1 judging criteria? 2 questions there, but FIA Drift, what's your plan?
Yeah, we've had some pretty mixed results with the DOS system. We've briefly touched on that. I don't want to mention any events that are run, but
no, we've talked about it a lot.
It is very confusing, especially when a judge can take away points. We have in the past qualified 4th on the DOS system, and then lining up for top 16, and then being told that actually we didn't qualify because there was 1 point taken away from us by a human judge, which not even Kawato-san, who's 100% Japanese, didn't even understand. So it's frustrating. We're kind of on the fence. Of course, we've got a huge fan base to go up there, and there are very credible drivers that still lined up for it. But to be honest, it's actually very unclear from the actual championship itself on the rules and regulations on what we can run car rules wise and what tires. Obviously, we have partners involved, which we need to know how much branding we can have, and like tents and pits and stuff that we can produce to our partners and sponsors to make the event happen. So of course, I want to drift every weekend and do events, but it's just it's a balance. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, Paco and Corey, find the best Instagram.
Well, we have one more question.
I know. I'm saying, we get this one from Jeff. You guys find the best 1 or 2 from Instagram, and then maybe you've heard of this little scoundrel, Jeff Jones. He says, carne asada or dirty dogs?
What?
Carne asada. All right, Paco. Paco, what's carne asada? You can help us out here.
It's pretty much grilled steak.
Grilled Mexican steak, seasoned steak. It's delicious. Yeah. And then dirty dogs. Corey, you can probably help him out.
A dirty dog is a hot dog covered in everything.
Chili.
Covered in chili and other nonsense.
I would go the steak by far.
All right, carne asada boy. All right.
I'm just going to jump to this question because it was probably asked in 60% of the questions that we got. But will we ever expect a return in Formula Drift from Mad Mike?
Ooh, finally asking it.
Oh, man, of course, they've got such a massive fan base. The tracks, you guys rock up there, and
this isn't starting good. You're starting with some compliments. No,
I would love to. I would love to for sure. But life's a balance, and it to go up there and be able to put on a show. You need to progress. You need to be progressing, and it takes a lot of time. Time investment is huge. The money investment's huge, but the biggest thing for me is time. And with my son racing now, I've missed so many of his races, and you've got life's a balance, and we put a lot of focus into Formula Drift for 2015 and 16. The last couple of years, we've been putting a lot of focus into growing Mad Mike Motorsports. LTD is the brand, the shop here at Hampton Downs, building our house, and then also doing Driftshifters. So hey, look, who knows? Next year, the following years, when I come back to the States, I love the competition, love the tracks, the fan, just set it all. Of course, I would love to return, but it's really about. I feel like I haven't got the Madbull. We've tried and tested. We've got Humble, which is a super violent, and I feel really, really comfortable in that car, and I feel like I would be very competitive in the States with that car. But it requires obviously a huge program to be able to put that together. It's not just a driver and a car. There's a huge team that goes to making a championship unfold and be successful. So the language barrier between Kawato and US and stuff like that is something we would love to make happen for sure, and I will push it one day. But we're still just aligning a few more things down here, finishing off the house, finishing the shop, and Link is leading the New Zealand Championships of right now. My priority one is I want him to win the New Zealand title. He's enjoying it, and he's beating all the teenage boys, and he's only 10.
So I'm going to consider that a yes.
I'm for sure down to get back at some stage.
Someday.
I feel like I'm still, when it comes to driving wise, I'm still young. There's still many years left for me driving 4 wheels. And a lot of time to return. I'd love to build a new car like from scratch and reveal it, do exactly the same we did, and reveal it in Formula Drift. That would be really cool.
Well, hopefully it's before this, like, you know, before like 2024 or whatever year that would be. But maybe it's a father-son team.
That's a lot.
I know, but if it's a father-son team, Link is all grown up and he's ready to see what dad's sport's all about. It's gonna be beautiful.
Hey Sam, 1 second.
We're gonna let you go in 1 minute, Mike.
Yeah, so we have 1 minute, Mike. Can you just give us a quick turnaround of the camera and show us your shop real quick?
Oh yeah.
Let's end on that note.
Okay, just gonna unplug a few things here. All right. So most of the cars are actually, this is the office quickly. So what you can see in the background, just going to walk you around a bit.
Carbon trophies.
This is like inspiration wall. So every morning I walk in through that door. You can see out there is the go-kart track.
Nice.
And Hampton Downs Raceway. Got the daily, the Brodozer, the Mazda BT50 out there. So that's my daily. It's like inline 5-cylinder diesel. And then just got my old retro wall there. Probably one of my favorite activations I've ever done. Most scary activation. One of the most scary was the pick in the background. Conquer the Crown. For you guys that haven't seen it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen it, man. We didn't touch on half the things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But next episode, we'll talk about other videos.
Next episode 2 with Mad Mike. And so coming here, we got Little Bull, which was a trolley. It's a couple of Tony's motocross bike, Link's KTM. Madbull that we're just talking about, and the Godfather, RX2.
Nice.
And then just a quick little zoom around. That's Tony. So that's what we were talking earlier about Tony and her love of cars.
That thing's
It's
awesome.
MX-5. So we've worked with Rotiform, Rocket Bunny, KW Suspension. Really cool to be a part of these companies that not only partner with our race program, but do all these street projects as well.
Yeah, man.
I think the only
this is Link's little
I recognize that thing.
trophy cart. So
sweet ass.
Everything's getting ready. He's got one more round. He's leading the New Zealand Championship. There's the Yamaha Wolverine, which is his support vehicle. I chase him around.
Nice.
And then over this side, we got obviously with a go-kart track.
Oh, nice.
Got to have some go-karts. I got a DD2 and Link's got a little all two-stroke in here, mate. Two-stroke rotary.
Two-stroke rotary. The most noisy
and then
shit.
jets. Hold on, you got to see the kid stand. Like this is the best car in the whole.
Kid stands.
Nice.
It's
So Rocket Bunnies.
So kid stance out of the States, like put this
Liberty
together. It was
Walk.
like a dream to do a McLaren for little jet. So she got that for her birthday, her second
that's awesome.
birthday.
That's awesome.
I think the only car missing there it's a Mazda Cosmo.
Yeah, that would be nice, but man, those are hard to find and really expensive. So one day we may do
One of
those.
the last gens. I mean,
we got a lot of time ahead of us, a lot of stupid, awesome builds to do, and then the inevitable return of Mike at FD some year, probably not 2018 or 2019, but soon enough. We hope to see you back in the States.
Yep.
And thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for being on the show. We can't wait to talk to you again. Make sure everyone watch Driftshifers. We will follow you on the internets to see how to do that. But it's essentially going to be this Sunday.
yeah. And we will definitely talk about it after it's
next Sunday. Following Sunday.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, next Sunday, not this Sunday, in Liverpool. It's going to be awesome. And thanks again, Mike.
Yeah,
We appreciate
thanks for
it,
everything you do for the sport as well, man. You're a huge inspiration to many, and it's
Thank you,
very
man.
well
And
recognized.
Just like I said, man, you guys have heard the stories. The kid living a dream and just, I've proven, like, coming from New Zealand, it's not about big budget. And I guess a lot of people when I was young used to say, oh, daddy's boy buys him all his toys. And, man, I was never budget, never met my father. And I was just a kid with a dream. Have the determination, live it hard and work hard, and you can make dreams fly, man. So thank you guys for having me. And episode 2, we'll have to do it because it seems like there's still so much more.
God, we
Lots
can't
more
wait.
questions I can see coming through on my phone. So, we'll do episode 2.
Sounds
All right,
good.
boss.
Thanks, buddy.
Peace
See ya.
out.
Have a good day.
have a good one, Mike. That was good. That was...
Little to go, you. Oh, sorry, Tony, we didn't get to hear your question. And also, Homer, he didn't even have a question. He said 420. I appreciate that, Homer. Tony Shaboon asks, who wins it at the St. Louis? Don't be silly. It's going to be James Dean. I mean, maybe it's Kristoffs, maybe it's Osbo, or maybe it's Jeff Jones. We don't know, man. We don't know who's gonna win. He doesn't know. I wonder if he watches FD. That was one of the other 1,000
And there's
questions.
so many questions.
There's so many questions.
God.
I want to talk about all his videos. I want to talk about how to make a rotary reliable. I want to talk about if Corey actually could be his dad. Like, I want to line up some things here. Like, where was Corey?
There's so much more that I think that guy has left in his brain that could be just spewed out on the table.
He's a talker too. It's like he's not giving us one word answers. He's giving us the story behind every answer, which I love. He's the probably the easiest guest we've ever had to fill the time. And it's like I looked down, I was like, oh, you're skipping on us, Mike. But nope, it's already been 2 hours. So it's like nope, we just filled up 2 hours so easily in just free talking with Mike. So I'm super pumped he finally got on the show. He's been a hard guy to pin down because he's doing so many things.
Well, like this guy is living the drifting dream. You know, he's
an animal. He's a total animal.
It's just, you know, I never knew his full story. That once again, never knew his dad, lived with his mom, self-established, self-created, had this vision, had this idea of what he should be doing, and just. Like, that alone is so cool.
It's quite inspiring.
It is very inspiring because, once again, I think there's a lot of people who fall on path that say, "Oh, you need money to get in this," and it's like the biggest name in drifting just decided that he can make it work with what he has and will find a way, and that's determination. And dude, I think that
wasn't about the podiums. It was about the spirit. It's about the spirit of the sport.
And when you win the fans, you win everything. And I think that he's been a huge inspiration to me because for him, it's once again, it's the idea of winning is inspiring and winning is putting on a show for the fans. And it doesn't matter if you win or you lose or you qualify or you don't, because the idea is the moment when you're on track is your moment to shine. And if it's 1 lap or 100 laps, it's what sticks matters.
And I remember that's why you wanted to be called Crazy Corey.
I was gonna be Mad Corey, but somebody had the Mad nickname.
Yeah, it's like CC, you know, like Mad Mike, Crazy Corey. Yeah.
So real quick, I just looked it up. So on the Driftshifter's website, 10:30 a.m. On Sunday is when the event is going to be 2:30 a.m. On Sunday Pacific time. So. Go out drinking Saturday night, have a good time, and then come
back
home,
from the club and fire it up.
Watch Driftshifters in bed, or else, you know, watch it wherever you are at 2:30 in the morning after a Saturday night.
Yeah,
but Driftshifters is cool. It was one of the first Turk videos I ever edited. Was Turk at Driftshifters, and I was like, this shit's crazy. Like it was such a unique thing to witness, just at least through GoPros and watching it. Then on the not the live stream because it was after the event, but you know, watching the videos from it. Yeah. So he's doing really cool shit. Corey, do you want to say? Obviously, the car pack came out. We want to talk about that, but do you want to go into detail, or do you want to save that?
Well, so here's the thing:
for next show.
No, so we actually will have some special guests from Turn 10 Studios on an up and coming show to share their full experience in scanning and doing this whole car pack.
But the big news, Corey, is that for those that have not been following Corey on Instagram or anything like that, is Corey's car has been immortalized in the Forza universe as well as a bunch of other drift cars. And Corey, it's not just the fact that it's Corey's car. Corey helped facilitate a lot of this and has been unable to talk about any of it for years. And Corey,
because I don't know how much I could talk about right now, but I had my car scanned twice. I can say that I had my car scanned twice, and it was actually removed from the video game once. And it was all because of this podcast.
We blew it,
and a couple other things. Why I had a couple opportunities, but it established a relationship with these guys for over a couple years now. That we shared a lot of ideas, we shared a lot of knowledge, we shared stories and cars and a bunch of different things. So I've been involved with these guys for
a couple years.
Handful of years, and it just so happened to fall back to a point where this whole Formula Drift car pack was coming to fruition, and we've already had this really strong relationship.
It is all part of the big plan, Corey. You meant to blow it with that leak that you supplied and just start a relationship. And you're all doing just the long con.
And it was. I'm going to ask him how in depth I can talk about the first release because it literally almost got to a point where there was lawyers involved, and it was a really crazy moment. But it's once again, it's all the relations that you can kind of create from that.
But I think a lot of people who's listening don't even know what we're talking about.
No,
so
and that's I don't know because I'm sure we can
no,
talk
but
about
I'm saying,
it now.
But even like they don't even know what the whole car pack thing is.
We'll
so,
go into that.
So,
we'll get into the background and all that. But the car pack has been released officially.
So at the end of the day,
again, people don't even know what we're talking about.
But let's.
I know
we're
talking about. Paco, give us a
yeah,
fucking
Paco,
second.
chill out. Jeez.
Fuck Paco.
Yeah, Sam, we might have to team up on Paco here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyways, the whole story is this relationship that was created a long time ago is leading up to what is happening now. And so what's happening now, if you guys haven't paid attention to Turn 10 Studios or Forza Motorsports, is that they officially released a Formula Drift car pack for the first time.
Well, it's not released yet.
It's projected to be released. They just announced all the cars, and there's a bunch of cool cars in it, and there's a crazy stories behind why every car that is picked is in the game, and you have everything from Dean's Viper to, once again, Haley's BMW to Honadell's to mine to Matt Fields, Josh Robinson's Ute. And once again, to give you guys an idea, is everybody complains about Pro 1 guys get so much attention and not the Grassroots guys or the Pro 2 guys.
Pro 2.
And the idea was just to bring every brand or every group together into one unique car pack, to have a wide variety of what it's like to drive a Pro 2 car, what it's like to drive a Pro 1 car. And there's so many other different stories that kind of go into why each car was selected. We personally don't believe that this is the last Formula Drift car pack. I'm hoping there's going to be
more
projected more cars as they come out, but this is just a great start for a great relationship.
Especially since, I mean, not only they announced the car pack, but they also announced an update that's actually coming tomorrow. For those listening to the audio, it's coming today, where actually they're adding angle kits on Forza Motorsport. So now you can get pretty much any car, and you can buy angle kits and give them 60 degrees of steering, which actually will allow you to drift every car.
But this is cool though, because I've been kind of out of the car video games for at least just a few years. But I mean, playing Forza 1, 2, and 3 back in the day in college, it's like all I would do was try to drift cars around the track, and like I would struggle to just like change the settings around so they're so fucked up that the cars would drift, and I would just try to get a 240 SX and make it into something. And now there's actual drift cars with actual settings. And
you can build your own.
Detailed. And can we talk about? I don't. We'll save.
Well, we went. Obviously, we all went there.
We can talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about. We went there. We tested the cars. We
played a build version. It was sick.
Yeah, we went to the studio, and we'll sum this up real quick because we're gonna have a full length interview with a lot of the Forza staff that goes into this. But it was like we tested the cars. We drove the cars. The very cool moment for me is I drove my V8 car for the first time. You know what I mean? And it was like, and the reason, hold on real quick.
It was gross.
And then, and we'll go back. The reason why the V8 was in the cars, because these cars were scanned from a year to 2 years ago. Yeah. It takes over 2 years to develop a car in the game, over a year to develop one car into a game. So they have hundreds of designers that are building these cars, but these cars were scanned over a year ago.
And as they were explaining,
you can see it on they did during the release. There was some streamers playing with the cars and going through all the display features like in the showroom, and you can see how highly detailed these cars are. These cars take, and we'll get more details when we talk to Turn 10. These cars take hundreds and thousands of hours of many people doing every sticker, people putting the maximum drift
and it's not
on
and it's not only
car.
That they have a design team, they have a scanning team, they have a law team, because every sticker, you guys need to understand this, every sticker that's on the car, they have to contact the owner of that or the creator of that sticker to get approval to use that image. So
Paco, did they ask you for the tofu sticker?
Yeah.
And they said, for example, Hertz car, if you look at Hertz whole window sticker bomb, they had to find every manufacturer of that sticker company and ask if they have the rights to use that image in the game. So that's why it takes here for rights to use images and the production and making sure everything is scaled correctly. But
the only reason, and we'll go, I don't want to spend a whole episode talking about this because obviously we can. But the only disappointing thing about this pack is that they don't have the dinger on the downpipe on your 2JZ.
I know, it's so
because it's the wrong motor, but. Maybe 2.0 card pack. Maybe there's like a maximum.
Well, the other thing too that I saw,
the dinger pipe.
The other thing that I did, that's an upgrade, Sam. You have to buy that from the store. Is a dinger pipe.
It's a loot box.
But the other thing I saw too when they were streaming it, they took thicker than a Snicker off the back, and it's probably because they didn't get rights from Snickers to put the thicker than Snicker on the rear wing. So I got to figure that out. I just saw that
because it used to be.
Yeah, because when we drove, it had thicker than the Snicker on the back, but it didn't have it for the demo.
It's probably because like they specify for example no alcohol and tobacco brands and
no dick jokes.
No dick jokes.
So here's another cool thing I did. So being partnered with these companies, we've personally at Driftcast have been trying to work with as many enthusiasts and drivers and supporting every type of enthusiast in drifting. And so I posted something in our Maximum Driftcast group, and I posted something personally on my Facebook saying, hey, I'm looking for a car in the Pacific Northwest. Has to be semi-clean, has to be a drift car. And this was purely a test, right? Because I had an opportunity, and I was going to give it to the first person that stepped up and just answered the question, say I have it, and it's available. And so what happened was, by asking that question, I was literally asking for a vehicle to be used at the Forza studio for the release of the car pack. So Dalton Gerhardt and his buddies immediately started tagging him in the messages. Hey, contact Dalton. Dalton's a man. You want to use his car's
He said
awesome.
His name was Dolphin.
Dolphin, yep.
Dolphin.
And so literally, first come, first serve. So what happened was, as soon as his name popped up and we communicated, Microsoft said, find a car, get him in here. So first come, first serve. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Dalton's car was chosen for the unveiling of the Forza car pack as a studio car for Forza. So basically, they gave him money, financially supported him to get to the studio. They're giving him a bunch of cool resources and tools and things like that. But that's because they allowed us to outreach to our community to reward somebody for something. So for Dalton and his crew speaking up and saying, hey, we have a cool car, why don't you guys pick it? He was the one. So he was able to get financially supported, was able to get some Forza goodies, was able to be streamed in front of tons of thousands of people. And once again, it wasn't a pro car. It was a Pro-Am car. And
he
once
got
again,
his license.
a lot of and he has his Pro 2 license, but a lot of the pro cars were out in Seattle or St. Louis. So a lot of people were asking why wasn't a pro car. It was because everybody's in the move. But we found a perfect candidate, and it worked well, and it gave
Not to mention, his car is built pretty nice.
It's a great car.
It's a beautiful
but
looking
once
car.
again,
So definitely
it gave somebody some great media to grow their program off of. And that was kind of the idea of us getting involved, is giving people opportunities to grow their program. And he had a cool opportunity, and the dude spoke up, and he first come, first serve, man. And we'll be offering more opportunities like this in the future. And
there's hours and hours we're going to spend talking about this. Have you already locked in those bros for next week? Is it a sure thing?
I've reached out to them, and they're just trying to check their timing on.
Cool. Well, either next week or the following. Then we're going to do a full in-depth episode just on this Forza
Formula Drift car pack and drift updates.
It's a Forza Formula Drift pack, and then it goes a little deeper, and then it's a kind of a Corey Hosford facilitated thing. And I mean, at this point, we just kind of call it the Maximum Driftcast.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, I mean, maybe years down the road we'll have that, but it's such a cool story, and we want to go in depth in that. And even if you're not a gamer, I think you can really appreciate the background that goes into making a real life car project into a video game car.
And one other thing, let me clear this up real quick, Sam, because I've been getting a lot of messages about this, as well as we're getting in chat right now. Everybody's saying there's no 2Js and there's no Toyotas in video games. And that is absolutely true. Toyota pulled all their marketing out of video games. You can't select any Celicas, Supras, GT86s. And a lot of people were like, what Turek and Gucci? Because it's a Toyota, and Toyota doesn't want to be part of video games. Because they said, I was reading articles, and Toyota said that why would people need to buy real Toyota cars when they can experience them in the video game? And that is literally one of the reasons why there's no Toyotas in video games anymore.
The lamest excuse in the world.
Yep. Yeah. So that's why you guys won't see any Supras. You won't see Randan in this pack. You won't see the GT4586. You won't see the
I really wonder if they could just
any Osbo's cars. Is because Toyota has put the X-nay on being part of any video games.
I'm sure that hopefully in the next hour or so, once they hear this podcast, they're going to fire their marketing director, because that is a very dumb way to think about. Which is so weird, though, because they literally designed the 8.6 with the youth market in mind. And the youth market, for the most part, likes playing video games. And one of the main reasons why I fucking bought a Subaru, you assholes, is because I played it in a STI and Gran Turismo. I'm like, this is the sickest shit in the world. I'm going to buy one when I have enough money. And that's what I did, you goddamn idiots.
I kid you not.
It's so ridiculous that they would think that because you played in a video game, like, now they're not going to buy it.
I'm not going to buy it anymore because I drove all the Toyotas.
And I played with an STI in a video game, and I'm like, I'm going to buy this car when I have enough money, and I did.
I kid you not. Like, all of my weird cars, a lot of them I actually get to know they even existed because of Gran Turismo.
I haven't heard of that game. I know Forza, but
but I mean, like, that was like
it's all video game inspired. Oh, for sure, man. Like you drive all these cars growing up at a young age that you don't have your license yet. So guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna play video games, and you can create a relationship with that car as you drive it in the video game. So hopefully set a goal.
And not only that, like, these games actually help a lot of people fueling their passion for cars.
Right.
And like, they're building love for certain brands and certain models. And I mean, look at Sam. He ended up getting himself a Subaru because of a game.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
but we'll get into that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Probably not that with the designers, because I imagine they probably don't want to go too in depth with that. So it's a good thing we got that out of the way here.
So, and real quick, want to clear this stuff more. They're saying there's old Toyotas and older games because they changed that rule recently. It wasn't very long ago. So you'll see some older generations in other video games in the past with Toyotas in them, but then they changed the rule. So that's why you may see some older cars in that game. But as of now, no Toyotas allowed in video games. So anyways, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah,
back to you.
I was gonna say let's shut that aspect down because we're gonna hopefully get into that in the very next few weeks, and it's late as fuck because we had to accommodate Mad Mike and his timing, but we are of course going to be at Formula Drift St. Louis in just a few days.
Yep.
Very excited about that. We're going to be doing the AM Intakes halftime show brought to you by Next Entire Motegi Racing, excuse me, and it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited about this new track, new place. Come say hi to us there. We're going to be looking for y'all. And
I'm doing Lorette's job, Sam.
Yeah, you're going to be cruising around the pits, taking hits.
Man, I'm going to be doing Lorette's job in St. Louis. And
you mean you're going to be doing a job? I wouldn't say you're going to be doing Lorette's job.
No, I would be, I'm a quarter of Lorette for sure.
Subpar.
And I think Lorette's so worried because she's texting me, Corey, do you have any questions? You haven't asked me any questions yet. And I'm like, I
can't wait until the camera rolls and you're just going to freeze up and fart and take a
so if you were to smoke a couple hot dogs, how high would you get?
I think what you can do, Corey, just like hold your phone next to the person you interview with Lorette on it. And like, all right, she's asking you a question. And
if you could just hold the phone for
Hey,
Lorette
James, you did really good last round. What did you do?
What can I do?
And then step out and then hold the camera.
Take the supercharge to the podium.
Thanks, Jeff.
Back to you, Jared.
Kyle Mohan just said in the chat, I drifted RX-7 in video games before I did in real life. So
there you
go. Another example. What's up, Kyle? We got to get you on the show soon, dude. Stop canceling on us.
Yeah, it's harder to get Kyle Mohan than getting Mad Mike.
Man.
Yeah, dude, it's these Rotary guys.
Rotary people,
fair,
man.
Kyle Mohan is America's Rotary sweetheart. So, I'd say he's cooler than Mad Mike because Mad Mike refuses to come because he's like, trying to be a good dad or whatever. Whatever, man. I'm kidding. Mad Mike, I'm so pumped that Mad Mike has given Lincoln, and I'm sorry, I forgot. Do you remember his daughter's name? I already blew that one. What's his daughter's name?
Whatever. I thought it was Jet. But
Homer with another super chat. He's doing 6.9 right now. Homer, you wild dog.
So real quick, as we start wrapping up, and once again thanking all our sponsors. As Mike was saying, the sponsors and the companies involved with drifting are the ones that allow it to grow. It allows us to grow. So real quick, going back to some of our sponsors, Motegi Racing is holding a competition that if you head over to their Instagram page and you look at that particular Motegi Racing wheel right there, and you were to create a design on that MR137 and tag them in it with hashtag
Where did I do that?
MyMotegis. Go to Motegi Racing Instagram, and you will have a chance to win a Motegi swag pack, but you will also win 2 tickets to Irwindale for the Formula Drift finale. So head over to Motegi Racing.
Hey, do you guys want to go to Irwindale and you don't have your tickets? Of course you don't, because you're all late-ass procrastinators. Like
just like all of us.
So instead of going and buying your tickets right now before they get sold out, because they always do get sold out, go to motegiracing.com, right?
On their Instagram. Just go to Motegi Racing on Instagram. You can screenshot that photo and design it, paint it, color it. Oh. Some dude made it look like Patrick from SpongeBob.
Clever.
The winner, once again, hashtag MyMotegis. You'll win 2 free tickets to Irwindale and a bunch of Motegi swag. So check them out. Motegi's been a huge supporter of the show. Next, obviously, we got to thank AM Intakes, the whole team over there. being a huge part of the show from day one, giving us the halftime show.
That intake to, was it Jordan?
Yep.
Jordan.
He posted Jordan.
Jordan. Yeah.
Jordan Sellner.
Jordan got his intake on his truck, and it looks killer. So it's
Yeah.
exciting. We're going to be doing more giveaways very shortly, no doubt.
He won like 50 horsepower. And Sam, I think your cat's about to jump into the sink.
Yeah, I know. I see that in the back.
But yeah, AIM intakes, they are awesome, and they've been helping us. And once again, they help grow the sport. So when you buy an AIM intake, you actually help the sport of drifting grow. So make sure you support the people who support us and support you. Nexen Tire, they're a huge part of the Driftcast team, and
they're supporting drifting. You know, when a lot of drivers got stranded in the middle of nowhere because they had no tire sponsorship, Nexen Tire stepped in.
Companies bell, Nexen steps up.
Come in here, and we got you guys.
Bunch of Pro 2 drivers going to be running them next week. I'm super excited to see Pro 2 again. I feel like it's been so long since we've seen some Pro 2.
Oh, it's going to be so cool.
Can't wait to see Corey not be there, so it's going to be sick.
I'll be there, Sam. I'll just be doing bodybuilding.
You're going to be bodybuilding and butt chug swilling.
Kyle Cross asked if we're going to get hats made. Yes, we'll get hats made.
Yeah, Kyle,
we'll get some hats made for you, buddy.
Super chat, Kyle. And after you said that, I'm inspired. We're going to make this happen, man.
Yep.
What do you want 5-panel? Do you want trucker? What are we doing here, man? We'll figure it out.
Yep.
And then, I want to thank our Patreons. You guys are killing it. You guys are keeping the show, the lights on, and also you guys in contests
we got a new,
that no one else is in.
We got a new patron, by the way. Fernando Garcia Jr. He became a $5 Patreon. So
what a man.
Thanks
well,
so
guess
much,
what?
Fernando.
He's going to get 5 tickets into our next giveaway, which we have Irwindale tickets we're going to give away. We've got a couple pairs of Irwindale tickets. We got some more AM swag. We may have some Nexen and Motegi products coming up, which are going to be pretty big and awesome. But every time you become a Patreon, every dollar you donate enters you into that raffle, and you have a chance to win all these cool goodies. So spend $150 on Irwindale tickets or become a Patreon, have a chance to win some sweet goodies. So other than that, you guys, we're going to be packing our bags, heading to St. Louis, and having a good time.
Sick, dude. Anything else? I'm done. I'm spent.
No, I'm done. I'm Mad Mike'd out right now, dude.
Yep. I'm pumped to see you all in St. Louis. New bunch of fans, and we also got the sickest Airbnb ever. It's got a pool table. It's got
all the room to all kinds of activities.
Activities. So we're gonna have a party just for us, but you can maybe come if you can find it.
Yeah.
The password is
Bologna
sausage man.
Yep, that's it. That's the one.
All right, guys.
That's it. We will talk to you soon. Don't forget to tune in to the AIM Intakes halftime show from the Drift halftime right before top 16.
This Saturday.
Bye,
guys.
The end.
That's it.
See you guys.
Jesus, scored.
Did you like that? I've been working on that. I was trying to figure out a good closer, and that's what I just came up with.
That's good.
That's perfect.
Thanks, guys.